party. Get the out of here.
I'm going to talk a lot about drills and fundamentals.
Watch it, watch it, watch it, watch it.
On 93.5.
Watch it.
And 107.5.
Boom, baby.
The Fan.
Final knee, final play, and the Colts come up short today in the regular season finale, and their bid for a playoff spot, it's on life support right now.
Never expect to be sitting here, having this moment right now, not like this.
Well, we're disappointed here, and it's a very tough loss. We're disappointed. We're angry.
It's a bad feeling, completely bad feeling, knowing that we were in control, being in control of our destiny last 2 weeks, and we just couldn't get it done.
In control of the destiny, and that thing went completely up in smoke in what you could probably argue, and I'm sure we will or will discuss, is perhaps the most inexcusable, certainly regular season loss in the history of the Colts franchise since moving to Indianapolis. Good morning to you. It is the alphabetically appropriately alliterated Kevin and Query program here on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. My name is Jake Query. Kevin Bowen here as well. Mark Dykton on the big board. Reality is this. Kevin, I guess both of us have some mea culpa, if that's the right word to do, because I was in agreement with you. Zero chance the Colts were going to go down and lose to a historically bad team with everything on the line, and zero excuse for them after the fact.
Yeah, those first two diapers I changed yesterday were pretty spicy, and I've got a lot more coming my way. So apologies. I want to say the caller maybe was Mike. I don't know. The name kind of escaping me, but whoever said that, Jacksonville's got a legit shot. You guys are overlooking them. I was dead wrong. Could not be more wrong in how the Colts played on Sunday. To me, Jake, there's little debate. I think it's the most embarrassing loss in franchise history. You consider everything at stake. It's not like the Colts lost that game on a last-second field goal or a fluky, final drive that some bounces went again. You got your ass kicked by the team that now has the number one overall pick, manhandled in every facet of the game. And the season, no matter how you slice it, is a failure. I sit here today driving in and thinking to myself, just utter shock that it's over, and the magnitude of how embarrassing and pathetic that performance was with everything at stake, I think only adds to it.
Here are the couple of things that I have said about the Colts, Kevin, that were of concern to me, I guess. First off, my mea culpa would be this. You and I had a fairly lengthy discussion towards the end of last week as to whether or not Carson Wentz was the guy for Indianapolis. And I was saying, yes, there is enough body of evidence, enough body of work to say he's the guy you ride with. I still think he's the guy you ride with because I think the Colts have put themselves in position where he is the best alternative for next season. However, Carson Wentz clearly has not shown that he has the mental fortitude in tough game situations to be a quarterback that wins you games when you need to put it on your shoulders. Period. He is not consistent enough, and quite frankly, Carson Wentz is like all of a sudden asking out a girl who had weird, suspicious breakups with previous boyfriends. When it comes down to it, I don't know that you can trust her. Or guys, I mean, either way, for if you're a woman listening, a significant other, I should say, you can't trust.
It is usually on the males.
That is correct. That is correct, yeah. I'm just saying as a guy talking, but yes, you are correct. But either way, clearly he can't be trusted when it comes down to it. 17 of 29 for 185 yards and a pick. It's still... But the biggest thing for me, Kevin, is this. The two things that I have, just as somebody who has had to talk about sports for a long time, the two, safety net opinions I've had forever. Number one, and I'm going to say this 50 times this morning, you're going to get tired of hearing it. Number one, when you win games that are a pleasant surprise or you overachieve for a game and win one that you didn't necessarily have circled, you have to make sure that you don't give a game away to balance it out. The Colts won in Arizona, and the Colts won here against New England, and it was Hell yes. Let's go. But they offset by stubbing their toe twice. The Raiders here, all they needed was one of those two. The Raiders here and at the lowly Jags, they offset those two great wins and made them totally irrelevant. Number two, the things that bite you and haunt you over the course of a season all come into play, and the game that eliminates you becomes a microcosm of your season. Every little thing that we've talked about at different periods, Kevin, throughout the year, all came into play yesterday.
Yeah, and I would say what's uber frustrating about yesterday as well is your supposed greatest strength failed you, and that's your offensive line. On the Wentz front, Jake, when you bring up the mental fortitude, I think that might be the scariest element of it all. Is that fixable? Because this guy hasn't even played in big time NFL games yet.
Was that the biggest NFL game he's in terms of things on the line? Was yesterday the biggest game he's played in?
Yeah, I want to say in 2019, Philly was in a similar situation, but I could be wrong on that, where they had to win a bunch late in the year to get in the playoffs. So maybe there's another game in there, but it's certainly right up there. And I think you can make the argument, Jake, after everything that transpired for him in Philly, the fact that he has this second life and that moment. You could make the argument that was the most pressure-packed game, whatever. But again, on the scale of NFL quarterback, how big those games are, what's on your shoulders, that doesn't even sniff what, these 14 quarterbacks are now going to face in the postseason when it is truly one-and-done football and all of that. Where I sit on Wentz is this. And this, I guess, goes to Chris Ballard, and this is another debate that we can get into and certainly will. Are you built the right way? That opening press conference that Chris Ballard had and stating that it's not all about the quarterback and this and that, it feels like at times he's undermined what that position truly means in the NFL, and he's built this football team to where they're like a fullback missing from being like the perfect team for the 1980s or the 1990s. But that's like an NBA team right now going all in on a bunch of big guys.
Right.
Or a Major League Baseball team going all in on a bunch of starting pitchers and we're going to play small ball and all that. That's not how 2022 NFL works. It is a passing league, and when you can't rush the passer and your passing offense is holding you back, no matter how special you are at running back, no matter how special of a defensive talent Darius Leonard is in the turnover department, you've sat here now at the end of 3 straight seasons and you've been a very average football team. So I think it goes to the top. There's trickle down with Frank Reich and Carson Wentz, certainly. But to me, as good as Chris Ballard has drafted at some positions, I look at year 5 and the end of it and think to myself, Jake, I don't think they are built the right way to have success at the highest level.
Here's the thing. If you are, human nature dictates. By the way, good morning to you. It's 8 minutes after the hour. Coming up, Jeff Saturday is going to join us at 8 o'clock this morning. Also, Todd Blackledge at 9 o'clock. There is still football to be played at Lucas Oil Stadium for this year, and by that I mean tonight, Alabama and Georgia in the national championship game. Colts are going to be the predominant conversation this morning for obvious reasons. Yeah, it would have been nice if Lance Stevenson could have played quarterback for them yesterday. That did not happen. Here's the reality, Kevin, by human nature. If things went awry on this show, okay? If all of a sudden we get called into a meeting and it is, hey, guys, we just got numbers back. And in December, the morning show on The Fan completely tanked. If I'm you, meaning Kevin, I would say to myself, when you get home and you're talking to your wife, you would say, look, the one variable here, all of a sudden, like, Query came in December. He wasn't here in November. There's a human nature element. I'm not saying that I would throw you under the bus or I expect you to throw me under the bus, but there's a human nature element in general for a lot of people of looking at external things before looking internally. If I'm Chris Ballard, I'm looking at the roster, and the first thing I'm looking at, Kevin, yes, it was ultimately my decision, but I'm looking at it and I'm saying, you know what? A head coach that wasn't my call convinced me of a quarterback that he was going to reawaken.
Wasn't
as
his
a quarterback
first call.
whisperer. What's that?
Wasn't his first call. Eventually, it was his call.
You talking about Frank Reich?
Yeah, I mean, he could have hired Dan Campbell, Leslie Frazier. I mean, he interviewed other guys after McDaniels stabbed them in the back.
He did. But I personally believe once Josh McDaniels went away, that then Jim Irsay had a heavy influence on, this is my suggested guy, that kind of thing. Either way, because it wasn't his first call, it's not a guy, you know what I mean? If Ballard wanted to throw Frank Reich under the bus, he could get away with it by because of the insinuation that it was not necessarily 100% his organic pick, is what I'm getting at. But the quarterback, clearly, it would seem, Kevin, yes, Chris Ballard had to sign off on it, but is Carson Wentz the quarterback here if Frank Reich is not the head coach?
No.
So if I'm Chris Ballard, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, hey, we got a guy at the quarterback position we can't trust, and our coach told us he could be the difference for him, and it didn't work out. In other words, the blueprint is there if he wants to do it for Chris Ballard to throw this and deflect it onto other people. And then do you have a Grigson-Pagano situation of two guys constantly pointing at the other one?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get there. I mean, at the end of the day, Ballard still signed off, and Ballard, I mean, there were important decision makers in that building that were not fans of other options, i.e. Matthew Stafford. So I don't want to act like this was solely, here you go, Frank, blank check sort of thing. You name the price, we'll go get Carson Wentz, that sort of avenue. I just feel like at times we absolve Ballard for, he's, again, made a lot of solid draft picks. But, Jake, we're going to now go into year 6 of the Chris Ballard tenure, and what's the future at quarterback? What's the future at left tackle? What's the future with your pass rush? We're not 5 years into it. You've invested so much into that group, and it is library quiet year in and year out. What about wideout? Like, when you talk about the positions that matter the most in today's NFL, I sit here and have major questions about so many of them because, again, quarterback means more. Wideout means more. Left tackle means more. Pass rush certainly means more. And how do you not sit in your division and look at Tennessee, who I believe played the most players of any team in NFL history, which just goes to show you all the attrition they had. Derrick Henry gone for half the year. A.J. Brown missed valuable games. Julio Jones missed half a season. And they're the number 1 overall seed. And you're 8th in the AFC. Like, when you start to look at the reality, I go back to my first thought in August, Jake, sitting at Grand Park, underneath that tent, just off the practice field. The press release gets sent out at 8 a.m., 9 a.m. in the morning, right before practice is beginning to start, saying, Chris Ballard and Frank Reich have received contract extensions for whatever, a handful more seasons. And the first thought I had was, what the hell have they done to deserve that? Like, unprecedented contract extensions for resumes that are extremely average. And now I'm thinking to myself, what is Jim Irsay thinking about yesterday?
Do you know the difference between the Tennessee Titans and the Indianapolis Colts? The difference between the Tennessee Titans and the Indianapolis Colts is one of them, when they faced adversity, had a coach that has a mantra of like an energy about him that seemingly, and I'm not in Nashville on a weekly basis, but it seems as though there is this energy in Tennessee where they never stop like believing and grinding, to use a football term. In Indianapolis, you have a head coach that, in Frank Reich, that when people list things about Frank Reich that make him a great coach, his football acumen and his energy are like 6th and 7th on the depth chart. He's a nice guy. He's a grandfather. He was a backup quarterback and always has his back against the wall. He's a minister. He quotes scripture. Okay, what about X's and O's? What about energy? What about rah-rah? Do guys fear not playing well under him?
Yeah.
And that was the same, Kevin, admittedly, critique of Tony Dungy for a very long time. But do guys fear? Do guys play hard? Do guys run through a wall in Indianapolis? Or do they stand around and feel like they have convenient, coddled excuses when things don't go well?
No, I think it's a great point. I think the word accountability might be said. I don't think it's a lot of action at West 56. And where is the accountability for this? I go back to the contract extensions, Jake. Is Jim Irsay handing those out to have this be the result? Because no matter how you slice it, this is a failed season. We talked about it on last week's show when we had the Carson Wentz back and forth. The most important question of the season, is Carson Wentz the guy or not? Undeniably, that question is left unanswered. I would say more people now probably side on the he's not the guy. Then you look at the playoffs. You've missed the playoffs. Oh, what about your first-round draft pick? That's gone too. So when you talk about playoffs, the most important resource to trying to rebuild is probably too harsh of a word, but retool this roster that certainly needs it, that is gone. And now the most important position in sports, and I am of the thinking that I was last week, that Carson Wentz is not the answer, but I also can sit here and acknowledge, Jake, your side of it from last week when you said, who else? I fully understand that's really difficult to find, but I continue, and yesterday just confirmed it, to have major concern about Carson Wentz between the ears and if he is ever going to be the right guy to lead an NFL franchise to where it needs to be.
The Philadelphia Eagles Sunday at 1 o'clock will take on Tampa in the playoffs. They will do it with an extra first-round pick, courtesy of Indianapolis, and a third-rounder, if I'm not mistaken. Okay? The Colts, with no first-rounder now, are on the hook next year. Carson Wentz, $22 million. And then 2 more years beyond that, I think there's a team out after next year, which will be interesting.
Salt wounds, big time.
No question. Real quick, before we get to a SportsCenter update, let's check in with Nick, who joins us this morning. Nick, I'm sure you're chomping at the bit with a Colts opinion. Good morning to you on a Monday.
I don't know about chomping at the bit. I don't have much energy to chomp at anything right now. So, but I'll tell you guys something. You know, I can identify all the same patterns you mentioned, everything like that. But the fact of the matter is, you guys hit a lot of nails on the head this morning. You mentioned Reich's passion, the accountability, all these things. I think this season is the beginning of the end of the relationship between Ballard and Reich. As Ballard got on the table and vouched for players like Vinatieri, he got on and vouched for Carson Wentz, and consequently, Ballard's lost one of his favorite baseball cards, a first-round draft pick that he can parlay for a lot of other things. And let's not get into the Stockholm syndrome of, well, what's better out there? What else? Why don't we pull the Band-Aid now? Why? You mentioned he has no passion, no accountability. It's this big happy, joy culture. Like it's all about culture. Okay, fair enough. Let me ask you this. At a time when Jim Harbaugh is getting back on the market potentially for the NFL, why wouldn't we pull the Band-Aid now, bite the costs on Wentz, and bring a guy here that is a junkyard dog of a coach, has history and an urgency? Why won't we do it now? Because we know it's not going to happen, but why wouldn't we do that now, especially with Jim Harbaugh coming on the market?
Kevin? No, I mean, I think a lot of people are going to feel that way, right? In terms of, I think it's interesting to me. There are 3 places that you can look at and say, this is where they need to make the change. Some people are going to say GM, some people are going to say head coach, some people are going to say quarterback, right?
And I think blame can be put at all 3 of those. And I think Nick makes a great point, makes a brilliant point. And now the question, Jake, becomes, you always hear process, you always hear patience from these 2, but how do the results not influence how you go about your daily activities? For Ballard, it's a lack of free agency and how he's wanted to build this roster like it's a 1980 football team. For Reich, you can be this lovey-dovey and this and that, but can you all of a sudden change his level of accountability that he's going to have? Like, does this team really fear Ballard, Reich? Maybe they feared Polian, a little bit more if you want to go back to the previous regime versus Dungy. So I think those are all things we can get into as well. Obviously, take your calls, 317-239-1070. Jeff Saturday, 8 o'clock. Todd Blackledge, 9 o'clock, looking ahead to tonight's national title game over at Lucas Oil. Kevin Bowe and Jake Query on a Monday.
No whining allowed. Sack up.
Sean Salisbury. In order to advance in the postseason, Wentz is going to have to play like Carr did. There's about 4 or 6 decisions a game that he's going to have to make. And so now you're going to go to the playoffs. It's a different story in single elimination. He's got to convert third downs. He has got to make some throws that are there. And the great ones do not miss the easy reads and the easy stuff. They just don't.
Dan Dockage, weekdays noon to 3 on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Want the same internet but more privacy? DuckDuckGo's got you covered. They help millions of people like you get privacy online without any trade-offs. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
Join the Indianapolis Donato's Pep Rally. Choose the 150 pepperoni pizza or spicy pepperoni for just $1 more than a large one topping. Order at Donatos.com. Tax and delivery extra.
Hi, I'm Ryan Kelly with thehomeloanexpert.com. There's never been a better time for a cash-out refinance. Thehomeloanexpert.com.
NMLS number 1326-241.
I'm Ed, Shane Company's lead diamond buyer. One thing I'd love our customers to know is that no fewer than 5 sets of expert eyes examine your diamond. No other jeweler does this, and this is how we can offer you the most beautiful diamonds. We're always traveling to the diamond capitals of the world, where our long-standing relationships allow us to look at the diamonds as they're coming off the stonecutter's wheel. We get first pick of the prettiest diamonds in every grade. We negotiate the best price and pay in cash to get you the best value. All of our diamonds are conflict-free and natural. Unlike lab-grown diamonds, natural diamonds have consistently maintained or increased in value over time. There's so many reasons to feel confident about choosing a Shane Company diamond. No other jeweler works as hard or cares as much as we do. With the largest selection of diamonds in every price range, you'll easily find a stunning diamond that speaks to you.
Now you have a friend in the jewelry business. Shane Company and ShaneCo.com.
BetMGM welcomes you with a special offer on the College Football National Championship right here in Indianapolis. Simply place a $10 moneyline wager on the game. If either team scores a touchdown, you'll win $200 in free bets, regardless of your bet's outcome. Just use the bonus code THEFAN200, all one word, capital T, capital F, when you make your first bet. Enjoy the national championship like never before and earn M-Life rewards that you can use for rooms and dining at any MGM resort nationwide. Download the app or go to BetMGM.com, and again, use that bonus code THEFAN200 to win $200 in free bets if a touchdown is scored in the national championship. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years of age or older to wager. Indiana only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire 7 days from issuance. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who believe only quitters end a game in a tie, the type of guys who choose the bar with the biggest TVs to overcompensate for theirs at home. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Get to Twin Peaks for the big game on January 10th as Georgia takes on Alabama. Who you got taking home the title? Bring the crew, order up some game day shareables, and wash it down with a 29-degree beer at Twin Peaks. Game time 8 p.m. Twin Peaks. Eats, drinks, scenic views.
Hun, have you seen this internet bill? Why'd the price go up?
I don't know. Did you change anything?
No. Did you? You switched us to those fancy coffee beans. Maybe you're on a roll, making everything more expensive. Did you suddenly inherit money you didn't tell me about?
Whoa.
If your internet bill is giving you trust issues, you're not a bad partner. You just need a straightforward price.
Maybe we switch to decaf.
Get AT&T Fiber. Equipment fees are included, and with no price increase at 12 months, there are no surprises. Limited availability in select areas. Visit att.com/faster.
At Kroger, fresh groceries are our thing, so we check your delivery order for freshness at every step from farm to store and pick and pack every veggie in your free pickup order with care, because we treat your food the way we'd want ours to be treated. We're fresh every day, so shop anyway. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Free pickup on orders of $35 or more. Restrictions may apply.
Get more ways to save at the Buy 5 or More Save $1 each sale. Just buy 5 or more participating items and save $1 each with card. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Hi, I'm Emmitt Smith, Pro Football Hall of Famer and 3-time champion.
Pro Football's all-time leading rusher Emmitt Smith talks about joint pain.
Trust me, I know about joint pain. Sure, I made it look easy, but if my body could speak, it would say, I'm in pain.
Are you living with chronic joint pain? Knees, hips, lower back, shoulders? Don't just assume the old treatments are the only treatments.
I've gone under the knife to get rid of pain, but now there are options, and you need to check them out.
Emmett's talking about QC Kinetics, exciting new natural biologic therapies that can repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints. New options now available here.
You can encourage your body to actually heal itself with the help of QC Kinetics.
Real relief with no surgery, no drugs, no downtime. Call the local medical professional professionals at QC Kinetics for regenerative restorative treatments with lasting relief.
But now, you and I, we have help. QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics, 463-235-7160. That's 463-235-7160. QC Kinetics, 235-7160.
Hey, it's JMV. If you're not saving for your child's education needs with a Forum Credit Union Sprout matching account, you're missing out. This account is the best way to supplement 529 savings accounts. It matches your savings as you can earn an extra $100 every year, plus a great dividend rate. Stop putting it off. Make 2022 the year to really step up the savings for your child's education. Learn more at forumcu.com or stop by any branch location today.
Join Mark Patrick seminars and stop smoking now without cravings, irritability, weight gain, or your money back. Only $49.99 guaranteed. Also, let Mark Patrick Hypnosis destroy unwanted food cravings and lose the weight. Seminars Thursday, January 20th at the Holiday Inn in Carmel. Weight loss seminar 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Stop smoking seminar 8 to 10 p.m. And Saturday, January 22nd at the La Quinta Inn and Suites Hotel in Indianapolis. Weight loss seminar 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Stop smoking seminar 2 to 4 p.m. Registration 30 minutes before seminar.
This Sports Center update on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan is presented by Big O Tires, the team you trust.
All right, Kevin Bowen, here's the beauty of it. We get a chance to talk just a couple of basketball stories to cleanse the palate of the Colts suck from yesterday. We'll begin with college basketball. Indiana 73-60 winner over Minnesota. The Hoosiers now 12-3 overall, 3-2 in the Big Ten. They are 11-0 at home. It was Xavier Johnson with 14. Trace Jackson Davis with 13 and 12. Rob Finney with 13. What do we say? They got to get some guards to go along with that play underneath.
Good balance. Minnesota was just like treating Finney like it was me from behind the arc. He hit 4, I believe. And important. Take care of business at home with these two in the past week. And now I believe is it at Iowa Thursday, I think is up next.
I've got to actually look at their schedule.
For the Hoosiers. And then Purdue getting a win. You know, there's some dicey moments late in that Penn State game. They finished that off really well. And unfortunately, Purdue's got a cancellation due to Michigan. Supposed to play at Michigan tomorrow, but that game has been canceled due to COVID.
Pacers in Boston tonight. They turn around and play the Celtics again on Wednesday at the Fieldhouse. That's coming off a sensational performance on Saturday for both Lance Stevenson and Domas Sabonis.
You know, it's funny listening to those guys. I know you were in the building on Saturday night, Jake, but listening to Rick Carlisle, Sabonis talk after the game, Lance Stevenson sounds like some emotional, motivational speaker that's come in and totally changed how the company views work.
He absolutely brings an energy. There's no doubt about that.
You're
right.
And we talk so much about his energy, you also forget how really skilled he is. Him and Sabonis in that two-man game was so dynamic on Saturday night.
It does make you wonder, how did nobody else sign him to I know Atlanta did, but...
Well, how does he play so poorly and inconsistent in these other...
Well, the reality is he has a little bit of Carson Wentz in him, right? Where you kind of never know.
It's still sensitive to go there. But yeah, Pacers, like you said, in Boston tonight as they still try and figure out their COVID situation. Still no Malcolm Brogdon due to his Achilles, and it sounds like TJ Warren's return is not happening anytime soon.
Wild card round is set. By the way, tonight, obviously, Alabama-Georgia national championship game. Georgia giving 3, I think, to Alabama, right? Is that right?
Yeah, and I just keep on shaking my head at that.
Hey, I met a bunch of Georgia fans, on Saturday night at the Pacer game. And they were all wonderful. I literally every one of them, I'm like, so what do you think's going to happen? And they all were totally humble and, oh man, I hope we win, but it's going to be tough. Alabama's so good. I met some Alabama fans yesterday that were really nice people too.
We went to the Fan Fest yesterday at the Convention Center. I don't know about your impressions, Jake, of being downtown this weekend. That 70-30, 80-20 Georgia-Alabama number, that seems that might be on the low end.
Yeah.
I have seen tons and tons of Georgia fans. And so we'll see how it plays out tonight. But that line is interesting to me. Georgia's still a 3-point favorite.
If you are from out of town and you're here for the game tonight, certainly enjoy it. We apologize for the weather, but we'll put our best foot forward. Leave a lot of your money here, please. Wild card round is set in the NFL. It is. Here are the following matchups. The Raiders, courtesy of a wild finish last night that I thought for certain, as it went into overtime, I was like, wait a minute, are they actually going to tie here? Raiders go for a field goal at the end of overtime to win 35-32 over the Chargers, who rallied late. I thought Justin Herbert, when it really mattered, was down the stretch showed that
fourth down after fourth down.
Unbelievable.
Fourth down. So they're out. Chargers are out. Steelers get in because the Raiders win that. So on Saturday, it'll be Raiders, Bengals at 4:30, Patriots, Bills, the nightcap there. And Jake, when you look at Sunday's slate, that just screams mega quarterbacks and the mega team with America's team sandwiched between Brady and Mahomes.
Yeah, you got Pittsburgh and Kansas City. Excuse me. That's going to be on Sunday.
Sunday night,
and then the daytime Sunday game, Philadelphia and Tampa. You mentioned Tom Brady. San Francisco and Dallas kicking it back like it's the mid-'90s. That's going to be at 4:30 on Sunday. Monday night, it's Arizona in Los Angeles. So the playoffs are set. The playoffs do not include the Indianapolis Colts. Dean has been waiting patiently to opine on the horseshoe. Dean, good morning to you on a Monday.
Really enjoyed the show. First thing, we overpaid Andrew Luck at the end of his contract when he was moving on, when 2 weeks before the regular season started, he took off. I did never understand or agree with that, but that's Irsay's doing. Then we went out and re-signed Jack Doyle, who's an average tight end. And I know he came off a Pro Bowl season as a blocker, but I think we should use him as a tight end. Where was he all day yesterday or last week on our last two regular season losses when all we needed was one win? We overpaid Brian Kelly as the most highest paid center in the league, and he's a non-factor. He's not a dominant lineman. Now we got Quentin Nelson, who comes up for a contract, and we've overpaid our right tackle, Brendan Smith, who again is average. He's not making a Pro Bowl every year, and you don't go, holy cow, he's blowing the whole right side of the line open. And then we don't have a left tackle. Pittman, they tried to have him show up in the fourth quarter. Well, why not just wait and play him in the fourth quarter only when everybody in the place knows you're going to throw to him? And then that way he'd be better rested because he would be, But that poor guy, that guy's got some skills. There's no doubt about it. He's got all the size that we need, and the speed is there. And, again, when you're drafting somebody whose father played in the NFL, he's probably got more insight into how to do it. And since he was an All-American out of USC, played some pretty good competition. I know when he played Notre Dame, they played three men against him the whole game, not just three-quarters of it. It took him out of it. But we got some tools, but, again, we overpay for people. Darius Leonard in the first.
Thank you, Dean. Appreciate that. Jake, a lot, obviously, to break down there. I think something we can hit on here maybe later today, but probably more so in the coming days. Are you giving Quentin Nelson that mega extension? And that goes back to how Chris Ballard has built this team. I think it's a very real conversation to have. There's been hints at it, throughout this season. You watch how Chris Reed played in place of Nelson. You've seen how Nelson's body, has gone through this year, having three different surgeries. So I think all of those are questions to be asked. We come back here on Kevin and Query. We'll get more into your calls as well. 317-239-1070. Frank Reich yesterday's answer on Carson Wentz. I found that to be very, very interesting. Vote of confidence, that's one way to spin it. I think you could look at it another way. What does that mean for the future of Carson Wentz? We'll get into that more here. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
The Pacers are in Boston for the first of two against the Celtics. Tonight at 7 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, it's JMV. Ray's Trash Services, the largest independent recycling and waste solutions provider in the Indianapolis area, and right now, they're looking for great people to join the team. Ray's is a family-operated business and has been providing Central Indiana with industry-leading recycling and waste disposal solutions since 1965. They focus a lot on the culture to make it a great place to work. Go to raystrash.com to see the career opportunities waiting for you. That's raystrash.com today. Ray's, your recycling and waste solutions partner. It's JMV for Mark Deedle Realty, 317-755-4232, 317-755-4232. That's markdeedle.com, Mark, DIETEL.com today. All right, Dwayne and Susan in Bargersville, they were ready to downsize, but unsure on how to sell and find a new place at the same time. It seemed a little bit overwhelming. Enter Mark Deedle. He shared his plan on how to maximize their home price and find them the perfect new home for their needs. That's exactly what he did. That's what Mark Dito will do for you. And in fact, Mark's going to guarantee you this. He is going to guarantee you multiple offers in 3 days for full market value, or he's going to sell it for free. It's Mark Dito Realty, 317-755-4232, 317-755-4232. My man Mark Dito online, markdietel.com. That's Mark, DIETEL.com today.
Gamebridge Fieldhouse is the home of Indiana Pacers basketball.
Here's another three. Towards
And in our home, we only have a few rules, both on the court.
Holiday took it from Adebayo, goes the distance and lays it in with the left hand.
And in the stand. We bring the energy every single night. Together, we are gold-blooded.
The Pacers battle the Boston Celtics on Wednesday. Tickets at Pacers.com. Pacers Celtics, Wednesday at 7.
The College Football Championship is here. It's literally right down the street. To celebrate, FanDuel Sportsbook is hooking new customers up with 30-1 enhanced odds on either team to win. Hey, it's Mark from Kevin and Query. That means you can bet $5 to win $150 on either team to win it all tonight. I like the Georgia Bulldogs, quite frankly. I know I'm going to probably eat my words later when Alabama rolls, but I like the Georgia defense. I'm taking them. You could feel differently. Just sign up with FanDuel Sportsbook using promo code MARK, make a deposit, and claim your 30-1 enhanced odds. There's no better bet than the College Football Championship than on America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel Sportsbook. The app is safe, secure, and easy to use. They have great offers and boosts every single day, promos, and when you win, you get paid in as little as 2 hours. If you already have FanDuel Sportsbook, FanDuel is hooking all customers up with $50 when you refer a friend. Plus, your friend gets $50 as well. So don't miss your chance to win $150 on a $5 bet on the College Football National Championship. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook or head over to sportsbook.fanduel.com and sign up using promo code MARK to get 30-1 odds on either team to win. Again, that's promo code MARK, M-A-R-C. 21 and over and present in Indiana. New users only, $10 first deposit required. Must wager in designated offer market. Max bonus $150. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
This ad for Hellsberg Diamonds has been specifically written for those who'd rather think about football than engagement rings. When free agency starts, your team wants to get the best players they can without spending too much. If your team is you and the players are engagement rings, then your best bet in free agency is shopping at Hellsberg Diamonds, where you know you'll get the highest quality diamonds at prices that keep you from going over the salary cap. Visit your local Hellsberg store and ask about our price match guarantee, or check us out at hellsberg.com.
With a free offer from Jiffy Lube and Pennzoil, here's owner Steve Sanner.
As we approach another Indiana winter, your neighborhood Jiffy Lube shops are offering free winter safety checks. No appointment and no purchases necessary. Just stop into any Jiffy Lube and we will check your tires, brakes, battery, wiper blades, fluid levels, and answer any questions you may have about dashboard lights or any strange noises your car may be making. It's all part of Jiffy Lube's focus on becoming your trusted source for preventive maintenance. Cars and trucks are made so well these days that all you need to do is take care of them and they will last a long time. 200,000 miles is the new 100,000 miles. So stop into Jiffy Lube today. No appointment and no purchase necessary. And let our trained technicians do a free winter safety check to give you the confidence to make it through another Indiana winter.
Jiffy Lube, Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985, proudly features Pennzoil. It's not just oil, it's Pennzoil.
Got some New Year's resolutions? More walks in nature? Less binge watching? That's good. But what about your wealth? Want to take it to the next level? Call Edelman Financial Engines at 833-PLAN-EFE for a free retirement review and financial plan. We'll take a fresh look at your finances to see where you are, where you want to go, and how you can get there. You've worked hard to prepare for your future. Make your money go further. You'll partner with an experienced planner who will incorporate your taxes, insurance, and estate planning needs to help build a portfolio based on her strategic approach to investing. So if you're wondering, what am I missing? What else can I do to help protect my wealth, my family, and my future? Call 833-PLAN-EFE by Tuesday at 10 p.m. to take advantage of this limited time offer. This is an $800 value. Yours free. So call 833-PLAN-EFE or visit EdelmanFinancialEngines.com. That's EdelmanFinancialEngines.com. Let's make your financial resolutions reality.
Life's full of unexpected joys, like problems with water.
That's why there's Michaelis, a crew of 24/7 experts who are rescue ready, day or night, one phone call, for a gazillion disasters. Over 3 decades of restoring your home or business to better than new condition. Water, storms, fire, and foundations. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it. Call 844-FIX-INDY. Make it Michaelis.
It's Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Bob Saget. Man. Sadly passing at the age of 65, I believe, right?
That re-entry. Haven't heard that in a while, Mark Dykton, so thank you for that. Brought back a ton of childhood memories, and that was a real kick in the... Wait, he was in Jacksonville? Did you see that? Or did a show in Jacksonville?
Yeah, that was the last place he performed, yeah.
Right?
And then he was in Orlando.
Yeah.
20 minutes before the hour. Good morning to you, Jake Query, along with Kevin Bowen, Mark Dykton here as well. A lot of Colts breakdown to get to, and we had talked about this and there are, again, to me, it's like it's a three-headed monster. I'm going to use that phrase somewhat flippantly, but whenever you talk about a football team, I don't care whether you're talking about the Indianapolis Colts or you're talking about the, Eastwood Eagles. I mean, no matter what team you're talking about, you look at who constructs it, who coaches it, and who's quarterbacking it. That is the reality of football. And there are probably indictments that can go all three ways, but there was no doubt about the fact that I don't think it was any secret. When the Colts decided that Carson Wentz was the guy that they were going to see and evaluate whether or not he was their franchise quarterback, Frank Reich was the quarterback whisperer that everybody, when the decision was made, Carson Wentz, we're going to give up a first-round pick, we're going to bring in Carson Wentz, it was because there was a security feeling in the fact that Frank Reich was the guy that could reawaken this greatness within Carson Wentz that was exhibited early during his time in Philadelphia. Here was Frank Reich, two different comments that we're going to play, Kevin. The first being Frank Reich sounding somewhat non-committal when asking about whether or not he was ready to kind of evaluate Carson Wentz. Here is clip number one.
I'm not going to evaluate any one performance individually until I watch the film, and then you guys know how I am there. I mean, I'm not going to give an open critique of every player, and we just got to be better. We got to be better in all three phases, and coaching and playing.
Now, right there, he's a little bit like, I'm not going to, it wasn't like he came out and said, look, no, guys, it's fine, right? He sounds a little bit non-committal.
Been in hundreds of press conferences with Frank Reich. When he stumbles early in a question, he knows it's a fair question, and he's worried about how he should answer that. Like, he knows, oh boy, how should I do this? I'm talking about my son here. I don't want to offend him. And then the second one, and I think this was pretty direct. I believe Mike Wells asked him this yesterday after the game on if Carson Wentz is indeed the guy moving forward.
Yeah, I think Carson did a lot. I mean, I think we're a team. I think he's our quarterback. And, I think we're all going to learn and grow from this year. How to utilize every player that we have to the fullest. I think there were a lot of bright moments for him, for Carson. So, again, I'm not going to go deep into individual assessment.
Now, in his mind, do you think Reich knows, boy, we got a lot of questions here at our quarterback position?
Yeah, I think so. And I don't think he wants to admit it. He obviously doesn't want to admit it publicly, which I understand that, Jake. I don't think he wants to admit it to himself.
It's on him.
I think he's afraid to admit to himself that, oh my gosh, it is the dad that has Johnny as the third grader, and Johnny's been passed up by, 3 or 4 of his friends, and I probably shouldn't give the ball to Johnny as much as I should some of these other, that is the vibe I get. This sounds really weird, Jake, and I don't know, maybe this is something that's just idiotic. I would almost, if I'm Jim Irsay, Chris Ballard, in a couple weeks, sit Frank Reich down, hook up a lie detector test to him, replay that audio, and be like, give us your honest assessment. Like, what were you truly feeling
but
there
Kevin, here is the
in
problem.
that moment?
Here's the problem for the Colts. There are two answers here. There are two discussions. Number one is, discussion number one is, did we now know that Carson Wentz is not the guy? I was wrong. I was wrong because I said, I've seen enough here. I've seen good Carson Wentz, enough to say, I like the skill set and you can grow with this. But everybody was telling me, but Jake, he's unreliable when it matters most. He's unreliable when it matters most. And you know what? He was unreliable when it mattered most. He flat out gagged. He was horrible. And people in Philadelphia are laughing their way to the bank with a steak cheese and a first-round pick in their back pocket and a ton of salary cap room, right?
No, spot on. And the interception yesterday, I thought I just summed it up. Another 1st and 10 interception. Another ball forced in a moment that didn't need it to be forced. We've seen that far too often in those sorts of situations. And I go back to what I said earlier, Jake. We still haven't seen Carson Wentz on the most pressure-packed stages. Like, yes, these are big regular season moments, but the guy's played 9 snaps in the playoffs. One thing that I think about quarterback, Jake, and this is part of kind of my stance last week in having skepticism about Wentz, I view QB like this. You are paying him, what, 20-some million? You traded a first-round pick. You traded a third-round pick for him. I need that guy to cover up some other areas on my roster. Whereas the Colts this season, they had to have other areas cover up Carson Wentz. And for long stretches, they survived that. Jonathan Taylor and Darius Leonard forced all these turnovers. They masked and kind of made our vision a little bit blurry in how we viewed Carson Wentz. But when the most important games of the season arose and you were facing 2 interim head coaches and you were favored by a touchdown last week in your own building and 2 touchdowns yesterday in Jacksonville, the position that matters the most in the NFL let you down. And that's where, if I'm Ballard, if I'm Reich, Irsay involvement, the position means too much not to explore any and all options this offseason. The resources aren't great, but you have got to be honest, replay that audio for Frank Reich and say, Frank, you know yourself better than anyone. You're hesitant there. You are not committed there. Let's separate your belief and your father-like son relationship with Carson Wentz and give a true critical evaluation on the most important position in sports.
When a team's season comes to an end, in the NFL more than any other sport, it is the easiest. The NFL more than any other sport is the easiest sport to assess what is plaguing a team at the end of a year, because the game where they are eliminated is always a microcosm of what haunted them all year. Carson Wentz's inability to make really sound decisions more often than not when things are flying quickly on the field plagued the Colts throughout the course of the year. The Colts' inability on the left side of the football to consistently protect Carson Wentz plagued them throughout the course of the year. Frank Reich's decision to not continue to utilize Jonathan Taylor at times plagued them throughout the year. The Colts' inability to get a key defensive stop when they needed it most, I'm not going to say plagued them, but haunted them at times throughout the year.
Where's the pass rush, Jake?
The inability to get to a quarterback and allow quarterbacks in rhythm haunted them throughout the year. Yesterday, Trevor Lawrence, who has been, and I think the world of Trevor Lawrence, he has been abysmal in his rookie campaign, had gone 9 games without a touchdown pass. He got in rhythm yesterday. He completed 12 of his 13 passes. He had all the time in the world. Jonathan Taylor carried the ball 15 times, notably because the Colts couldn't get anything to open it up for him in their passing game, because on the left side they couldn't protect Carson Wentz, who was completely unreliable. Everything that has plagued the Colts throughout the course of the year haunted them in the most inexcusable loss that they've had since moving to Indianapolis in the regular season, going into a game where they had to win against a team who was flat out awful, horrendous, and they absolutely got their ass kicked up and down the field for 4 quarters. Not one quarter that got away from them and they couldn't get it back. For 4 solid quarters coming out of the half, you knew what you had to do, and even still were completely flat. It absolutely is inexcusable, and it starts with excuse, or rather, it starts with where you pinpoint it at the very top. To your point earlier, Kevin, the way the team's constructed in Chris Ballard, there are areas of deficiency there. Hey, he's a nice guy. He's got great hair. He talks to the media, so people like him. But when it comes down to it, at this point, is this where they should be? Secondly, the head coach, who has been loyal to a fault to a quarterback that when it came down to it, everybody else in town said was unreliable, except for me. I was wrong. And Frank Reich stood by him, and boom, it blew up in their face. There is blame that can go anywhere you want to go with it. And people want to talk about it, right?
Contract extensions for that. Brad, wanted to talk about the biggest strength letting the Colts down yesterday. Brad, you want to talk a little offensive line?
Hey, Kevin. Yeah, 20-year Colts fan here. I just want to tell you guys, you guys talked about it. I think that's been a glaring weakness off and on for the last 4 years. It's just in key games, going all the way back to Luck's last playoff game against Kansas City, our offensive line and pass protection at times is terrible. And I'm not willing to completely write off Wentz. I am very cautious with him, but I mean, the guy threw 7 picks all year, only 26 touchdowns. But yesterday, he didn't have time to breathe, and when he did throw a pick, could have thrown 2 or 3. But I think also you were talking about head coaches, or one of your callers may have, but Reich has no fire. And with me, when you have no fire, when you have no intensity, and you have no killer instinct, you have to have that. Tony may not have had it vocally, but Peyton, you bet your ass Peyton had it. Mm-hmm. And that's why we were so successful for a long time. And as far as Ballard goes, I think it's not his job to develop talent. And right now with our receiving core, I don't know what we have, because I don't know if we have a coaching staff that knows what they have and that knows how to develop them. I mean, here we are, Des Patman, 6th-round draft pick a year ago, whatever it was. He caught a touchdown pass in the fourth quarter. Why isn't he getting more looks? What about Mike Strawn? I just think we have a lot of unanswered questions on this roster, and a lot of it comes down to maybe we don't have the coaching staff to develop them, and also as well as pass rushers.
I think a ton of great points there by Brad, and again, it comes back to the root of it, Jake. This extension for Quentin Nelson, it is a contract year for him next year. Do you give that to him? I think it's a very fair question to be asked. Chris has gone all in on building in the trenches, and in so many important moments. Your offensive line yesterday was easily their worst game of the season. The defensive line, though, Jake, like all the pass rush talent. You've drafted 5 guys in the first 3 rounds. You traded the 13th overall pick for DeForest Buckner. And when you're in a position at that point to, sure, hindsight's 20/20, but could you've traded up and found a quarterback of the future as well? How they've been built, to me, is a mistake.
I think Eric agrees with you. 239-1070. Hi, Eric. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you?
All right.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, so I totally agree with what you just said. The roster construction is a problem. And again, Chris Ballard has been all in on being strong up front, offensive line, defensive line. We got our asses whooped yesterday on both sides of the ball. I have Ryan Kelly being all-pro just is hysterical to me. He got whooped around yesterday. And to your point, Kevin, we paid all this money for Buckner, and I don't know if he's made a play in the last 8 weeks. I mean, he's non-existent, essentially. And again, so Ballard's all in on the being strong on both sides of the ball. And for 3 to 4 years, we've been saying we need a new left tackle. We need more wide receivers and the pass rush. And again, my God, how much can you spend on pass rush? We had Kwity Paye and Obi that combined for 1 tackle yesterday. 1 tackle out of our first and second draft picks. What a waste. I mean, and again, there's 3 or 4 others. Ben Banagou, healthy scratch for the entire freaking year?
Eric, how about this one, okay? And thank you for the call. Jake, you let Danico Autry walk because, Tennessee's going to sweeten the deal just a hair. A little bit more guaranteed money early on. Danico Autry this season, 9 sacks. DeForest Buckner's making, I'd argue, 3 to 4 times, I'd have to look it up, more than Autry, 7 sacks.
Kevin, when you preach, this is what I'm hesitant about. When a team, when asked about their construction, the first thing you hear about is character, and the second thing you hear about is like the coach's ability to connect with that character. I get it. Those things are important. But when it's the first thing you bring up, you better expect that when your season goes up in flames, people are going to call in and go, I don't care about character. I want wins. and that the perception is going to be there that you're overthinking that as opposed to not getting guys flat out that can – look, I want guys that can make plays. Like, this is the National Football League. I'm not putting together like a choir.
Right.
I'm putting together a football roster, right?
You're not trying to win Community Tuesdays week in and week out.
Correct. And I understand the importance of having guys. It's like the SATs. It should be a nice tiebreaker between two potential candidates. But I don't know that it's the thing that you look at first and foremost.
There's a meshing of it. Yes, you can have the core of the rich character and the self-motivation and all of that, but at the same time, I think you need a couple screws loose in that locker room to make sure you balance that out. And when the head coach, I think, lacks accountability, to our earlier caller, Peyton brought that in the last era, I think that's where you need it a little bit more as well. He's Jake Query. I'm Kevin Bowen. We'll keep the calls coming. Jeff Saturday going to join us in 5 minutes here. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
School is in session.
Seth Greenberg, this pains me. I'm not in love with the Hoosiers. I don't think there's a whole lot different going on. What do you make of the Hoosiers?
I don't like their guard play. Trace Jackson's great. The thing about Trace Jackson is you got to get him the ball on either the right block or at the elbow where he can drive it. They're defending fairly consistently. They're not disrupting. They're more defending. So I think they're okay. But I am not overly impressed with Indiana.
Dan Dockage, weekdays noon to 3 on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Losing sleep over a stressful job or a bad boss? It's time to get to know Express Employment Professionals. Connect on the Express Jobs app or expresspros.com.
Join the Indianapolis Donato's Pep Rally. Choose the 150 pepperoni pizza or spicy pepperoni for just $1 more than a large one topping. Order at donatos.com. Text and delivery extra.
Bet Rivers Sportsbook wants you to experience Rush Pay. When you want to cash out your winnings, you don't want to wait 2 days just to get the go-ahead to withdraw your money. That's why Bet Rivers created Rush Pay. With Rush Pay, 80% of withdrawal requests are approved instantly, meaning you'll get your money faster. Why wait? Get your cash when you want it. Bet with a winner. Bet with Bet Rivers Sportsbook at betrivers.com. Must be 21 and located in Indiana. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. 1-800-994-8448.
Hey, are you a single professional man looking for a life mate? If your do-it-yourself approach for finding her isn't getting you the results you want, why not hire a pro, like me, so you can take your game to a new level? I'm Amy Owen, singles coach and matchmaker. Maybe you've been looking for a while, or maybe you're newly divorced or widowed and haven't had a date in years, even decades. I can offer you tips, strategies, and introductions to some of Indy's finest single women. These ladies are active, attractive, fit, smart, accomplished, and financially self-sufficient. The only thing missing from their lives is the love and companionship of a good man. If that's you, please give me a call at 317-727-6331. That's 727-6331. Or check out my website, blueribbonsingles.com. Why Blue Ribbon Singles? Because it's the winners who get the blue ribbon.
A few weeks back, I was lucky enough to chat with the owners of Golden Oak Lending, and this is no BS, but they are great people simply looking to help all of us save money. That is their goal. Our friends at Golden Oak Lending are ready to help right now and get you refinanced today. Among the many things I love about Golden Oak is no cost for an appraisal. That's right. Simply just picking up the phone and seeing if they can meet your goals costs absolutely nothing. And who you talk to will be a local loan officer right here in Indy. How would you like to skip your first 2 mortgage payments? Well, with Golden Oak, you can do that. Plus, you'll never pay for an appraisal up front. If they can't close the loan for any reason, the appraisal is no charge. So no matter your unique situation or goal, you have an expert lending partner for life in Golden Oak Lending. Head to goldenoaklending.com right now to see what your home equity can do for you. NMLS 114937, 1.875% fixed, 2.952% APR, FHA 15-year mortgage with 20% equity, and approved credit.
Hey, it's Stan Dockage here with my wife, the lovely Lee Ross. Lee, we've had several jobs done at our house by the Michaelis Corporation. You've dealt with them way more than I did. You know I forget everything. Remind me, what was the scheduled work they did and how'd it go?
They were great to work with. Michaelis rebuilt a roof over our sunroom and a structure over our 2-story deck so we could sit outside on the lower level even when it's raining. The ladies at the office kept me informed every step of the way, and Michaelis did everything they said they would on schedule.
Here's what I know. It looks great, and you are happy. And when you are happy, I know it got done right, and, oh, by the way, I'm happy.
Bill, Dave, James, Brandon, and the whole crew from Michaelis did a great job around the Dockage House.
Besides being great general contractors, Michaelis has experts in waterproofing, foundation repair, mold remediation, indoor air quality, emergency fire and flood restoration, and insurance restoration. Spelled Michaelis, pronounced Michaelis. Call 844-FIX-INDY or michaeliscorp.com.
I stay very active. For my 40th birthday, I ran a 50-mile race, and to train for that, I was running about 70 miles a week. But over the years, that's deteriorated to a point where even running a mile, my knee would swell, and the pain that I would have would sideline me for several days.
That's Shane Mosney's story that led him to QC Kinetics.
I elected to choose a combination regenerative therapy that helps my knee regenerate to a point where I'm able to get out and start running again. But more importantly, I left there with a lot of hope.
QC Kinetics natural biologic treatments boost your own body's ability to restore and repair damaged tissue with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery.
Those guys have given me back a part of my life that was deteriorating. I just ran my first 10K since my therapy, so I'm trying to pick a good half marathon to run, but my goal is to run another marathon, yes.
Call QC Kinetics, 463-235-7160. That's 463-235-7160. QC Kinetics, 235-7160.
93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
WIBC HD2, W298BB, WIBC HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis.
Soccer Saturday featuring Indy 11. If this is your football, this is your show. Saturday at 9 on The Fan. You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
Good morning. 8 o'clock hour here in Indianapolis. If you take the Colts horseshoe and drop it right in the middle of the word morning, it spells out morning, M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G, which is what half the city is doing this morning after a colossal disappointment in Jacksonville. The Colts laying one of their worst performances, arguably perhaps their worst regular season performance since moving to the Circle City in 1984. Joining us now on the Payless Liquors guest line, courtesy of More Restoration, first on site, new name, sane, great people for More Restoration. Jeff Saturday of ESPN, the former Colts center, joins us. Jeff, reality is, man, you could have presented to me 15 different things we'd be talking about this morning, and a Colts loss in Jacksonville would not have been in my top 15. That was a stunner yesterday. When you look at it, you pin it on what?
Oh, lack of physicality, man. I mean, we got beat up on both sides of the line of scrimmage. We can obviously Carson Wentz didn't play well enough to win, and I'm not absolving him of it, but there's plenty of blame to go around throughout this football team. It was a shocking disappointment for me as well. I mean, just watching the game as the game transpired, I just, both the last 2 weeks, I just didn't understand how we could not create. I went back and watched it again late last night, and we don't create any separation at the wide receiver position. Our guys on defense get beat by a team that got 50 hung on them the week before, and we can't put up but 3. I mean, the last touchdown to me is whatever they're going to continue to give just to eat clock. So just real disappointed, man. I thought we would go down and just really lay the hammer on this team, and very similar to how the Patriots had done the week before, and just kind of flex your muscles walking into the playoffs. As a wild card that people were going to be concerned to play, and it didn't happen. It wasn't even close. I mean, it was a game from start to finish that Jacksonville completely controlled. And as a Colts fan, man, this one, you said it right. You dropped that horseshoe in, man. Morning is a difficult word, but it is. You feel some hurt today if you pull for that horseshoe, man.
Jeff, to that point, funky things can happen in NFL games. I mean, hell, Jacksonville at times looked like the team drafting number 1 overall. The Colts had a couple fumbles bounce their way yesterday. The fact that they just got their ass kicked, Like, that is what's so stunning and jarring to me. You watch the first third down yesterday, 3rd and 11, 3rd and 12, the softest coverage you're ever going to see on Marvin Jones. They picked that up, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, oh my gosh, like, is this, like, it's the first play of the game, or really the first meaningful play of the game, but, like, is this really going to happen? And then you just got manhandled for 60 minutes by the worst football team in the league. That is what's so shocking to me.
Absolutely. No, that's when, when Jake says it, like, what was the most surprising? I mean, everybody's going to go to Wentz, and because he didn't have anything that he didn't show you anything. But you're exactly right. Like you go back and watch it, man, and it's we didn't make it close, and that was the part that was so surprising to me. I mean, as I'm watching the game, the score was not indicative of how much control they really had, and man, you just continue to see play after play where your, quote, best guys are getting exposed or not playing to the level that they should play to. And it's hard to answer, man. I mean, like literally, like you said, you're sitting there watching it, and it's you're almost in awe thinking, this is a team that literally got run off the field the week before. And this is what's happening to us right now. And, there's no excuse for it. I mean, there's no explanation for it other than, and it's funny. I was sitting thinking last night as I was watching the final game and noting and charting that kind of stuff. And it came back to, Jake always asks almost weekly, there's always this saying that, is there something that's going to show up? Is there one thing that has continued to, kind of be a pain for us throughout the season that's going to show up? This would not have been the one. I would never have said, throughout the whole year, we're going to just get manhandled and walked up and down the field by a 2-win team. I just did not see it coming. And to your point, Kev, man, like, we didn't have an answer in anything. We couldn't rush the passer. We couldn't protect the passer. Couldn't stop them from sustaining drives. We couldn't sustain drives. Like, we're in the laundry list of whippings. Can you lay it? It was just a dismal performance, bottom line.
Jeff Saturday is our guest and will be, by the way, all the way through the Super Bowl with us here on Mondays. So we're happy about that. Not happy about the fact that the Colts will not have a chance for that coveted platform, obviously. But Jeff, I want to go back to this. I recall early in the Tony Dungy era in Indianapolis, people started whispering of, boy, Tony Dungy's really a nice guy, and he's a father-like figure, but I just don't see the fire in him. That was fans, right? Obviously, it turned out that you won a Super Bowl with Tony Dungy, right? So it worked out. Frank Reich, to me, from a coaching standpoint, that in terms of like the fire and the passion, I'm not in the locker room, but he appears to have that same calming demeanor. What was it that offset the lack of like fire push with Tony Dungy that made you guys want to win for him? And what does Indianapolis lack right now with that in Frank Reich?
Oh, I think from Dungy, it was, accountability was huge, player accountability. He was never, and I believe this about Frank as well, man. Like, Frank is a great football coach. Like, it's always going to come down to the coach, and I understand that it's a bottom line business, and, people can have their opinions about, how to coach. This guy knows X's and O's, man. Like, he knows how to coach men. Tony Dungy was not a motivator, right? I mean, he wasn't the guy that was going to make you want to go put your head through a wall. That was not the way that he tried to motivate. And in fact, I would say Frank probably has more of that than Tony did, as far as trying to get guys motivated and excited about, from the rah-rah perspective. But, from Frank's perspective, football goes back to a few things, right? If you can't block them and you can't get after them, blocking and tackling matter. And we didn't do a good job of it yesterday. And so, from a coaching perspective, I'm not sure there's a whole lot more you can design for your football team when the guys up front are giving up pressure, when the quarterback is, giving the ball away. I mean, man, there's only so much you can do. I mean, I'm being real. I'm not absolving him of everything either, right? The game plans, all those kinds of things. But this was not just I would not lay this on Frank. I mean, this is not a, hey man, he just came up and didn't give them a chance to win. I mean, this is players got to go home and go, man, what just happened? Like over the last two, and let's not even start with just Jacksonville, but from the Raiders game the week before, both performances to me just, you know, it just lacked enthusiasm, right? There just wasn't a lot of pop, and there wasn't a lot of grit. And I heard Darius Leonard talk about it, and I agree with him. I hope guys go back and think about the opportunity you have before you, like it's that close to you. There has to be something in you that takes it up that next level. You know, you can't walk into Jacksonville thinking they're going to mail it in and have that type of performance. And again, I go back to I rarely there are few coaches that I've ever played for that it's a completely vocal excitement that you want to go play for, man. Like it just doesn't. You got to be self-motivated in the NFL. Like if your job as a head coach is to have to motivate all 53 guys, I think it's going to be very difficult. Again, everybody accepts blame today. Nobody's trying to avoid it, but it's not just on one guy. I can assure you, it's not just going to be put at Frank.
Courtesy of More Restoration, Jeff Saturday joins us, and as Jake said, he will stay with us through the Super Bowl here every Monday. Jeff, Jake and I got in a pretty heated debate last week, or I guess as heated as Jake and I get into, about Carson Wentz, and is he the answer moving forward? I'll throw that question to you after what you've seen here in year one. Is he the definite answer as the franchise quarterback of the Colts?
No, I don't think so, man. And look, I've given the benefit of the doubt kind of the whole year, and but man, again, what did he have for the Vegas game? He had 150 yards. He has 150 yards yesterday. I mean, like when you look at guys who are separating themselves, especially at that position, and if you're not going to get those yards, can you pick them up some other way with your legs? Can you extend drives and help us win in a different direction? You can't take 6 sacks yesterday. And again, I'm not. The line didn't do their job either. But can you go make plays? And I think two great examples would be the last game of the season last night. I mean, you watched an offensive line that's getting decimated by the Chargers on the right side, and somehow Herbert is either rolling away from pressure or stepping up and buying time or doing something to extend drives and give them a chance to win. I know they don't win, but you understand what I'm saying. Like he's finding ways. And at that position, specifically for the amount of money you're making, that does have to be an inspiring type position. Like guys have to believe that when all the chips are down, you're going to find something in your trick bag to give us an opportunity to win. I do not think that has been presented, you know, and again, I went back yesterday. I mean, there's a couple plays that I would have said, man, Wentz has got to get this ball to this guy. But there was a lot of coverage. You know, receivers were not separating. There wasn't like guys running wide open where he should put the ball on them. I mean, it was just we couldn't get separation. They were very physical over the middle, like on our little mesh routes that crossed over the middle. The backers just, I mean, he is hammering us. And so, you know, it's messing up the timing, from the tight end position. There's nobody. It's just, man, I'm telling you, it's a laundry list. Like as I go through, I want to throw my computer. You know, I'm like, how in the world? Like it just, But I don't think, you know, from Wentz's perspective, this has not been an application that I would just rubber stamp and go, oh man, he's our guy. No, I mean he has not. He hasn't done anything to separate himself from the rest of the pack or from some other person you might be able to potentially get at a much cheaper value.
Jeff, do you think that the key players on the Colts roster, not named Carson Wentz, trust Carson Wentz?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, it's hard without being in the locker room, honestly, Jake, to know like how guys feel about other guys. I mean, they play hard for him. Like, I mean, I watched them. The subtle things that you watch for as a player, like when your guy's getting hit, do you go run over to help them? Do you pick, you do those kinds of things? I see those kinds of things. So I'm assuming they have a great relationship with him, or a good relationship. I don't want to say great, but a good relationship that they feel. But it's hard to ever know how guys truly feel like that without being like that. I don't know, man. So it's hard for me to speak to that, but they play like they do. I mean, they play like they trust in him. They go make plays for him. You don't see a ton of, like, when it's a bad ball, like the receivers, kind of giving you that death stare that receivers do if the ball's not on the money and they look back at you. You'll occasionally see it, but it's not like that's pretty typical of the position. So it's no more than I see from other places. So I would probably say yes, but I don't want to speak for other guys.
Jeff Saturday's our guest on the Payless Liquors guest line. Jeff, look, obviously the NFL, not just Indianapolis, but the rest of the league. You know what championship teams look like. You were on one. So for people listening who are so disappointed, understandably, this morning after such an inexcusable loss yesterday, can you give us an indication? Are the Colts, is that an indictment on just how far off this roster as it's constructed is, or are they closer than people think, and what is holding them back?
Yeah, no, I think they're closer than it looked yesterday. I mean, yesterday was just an awful loss, and there's no way to sugarcoat it. But no, this team, man, found from a foundation perspective, they have the pieces and parts to get in. As far as making a Super Bowl run this year, we were all questioning, could Carson take it there? I don't think that question has been answered for sure. So, but I do think there's areas that they're going to have to improve. The wide receiver position, they're going to have to get help there. They got to get better pass rush on the edges. That's something that kind of reared itself again. And you ask questions all the time, Jake, about what are those things. And I think from the secondary position, from the Colts, with pressure, I think that position on the back end is good enough, and it elevates itself. Tight end is another position maybe that you try to help yourself. But no, the pieces and parts for this team to be a good team that can make a run are definitely there. I mean, I said it most of the end of towards the latter part of the season. It's a very physical football team. I mean, when you look at them, there's a lot of things they can do. So no, this is not just this team's got to rebuild and go do the whole other thing. I mean, this team's a lot closer than yesterday would indicate. It's just disappointing that we got to go wait through a whole nother off season until they get their chance to do it.
Jeff, we'll end with this. Let's put Wentz to the side since we've already discussed him here. Your biggest area for improvement heading in to next season for this Colts team?
I got to go both sides. I got to go defensive pass rush has got to be better, and at a receiver position, we have to have more. Like, It can't just be Pittman. Those two, they're going to have to be addressed. Ballard knows that. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure those two things out. I mean, it just wasn't at the level it needs to be for a contender, and that's what I felt like we were. I mean, you have to be able to get after the, even look at like Kansas City and the kind of the evolution of them on defense. Like they got pass rushers now getting after people and creating noise. And at the wide receiver position, again, you got to have more than one guy, and whether that's coming into a tight end or a pass catcher of some sort that can take the pressure off of just being able to bracket or cover one guy and make it hard for us. That will help the quarterback position, but it will also help our offense as a whole.
Jeff, I'm not going to lie to you. I thought last night that Ben Roethlisberger's career was going to come to an end by the Raiders just taking a knee and tying in overtime. I mean, everybody was like, I couldn't believe the NFL. Like, what are the odds the NFL comes down literally to the last play in overtime to find out whether or not there's going to be a second tie in the entire season to boot out a team who has the only other tie? I mean, only in the NFL, right?
Unbelievable. And I'll be honest with you, I got no idea what Staley was doing. No idea. Like the timeout to me, I mean, you just saw like the countenance on the Raiders. They were either gonna try to, boot it from forever. That I didn't get it. I'm with you, man. I mean, what an incredible. I mean, I think I tweeted it during the game. I mean, the game was just insane how good it was, and going back and forth from energy perspective, all those kinds of things. And to your point, thinking that an 18-year potential Hall of Fame quarterback's career is going to end on a tie that really they could have started kneeing, from the first quarter, and this is where this thing played out. It was unbelievable, dude. I mean, the NFL, like you said, man, you got to love it, bro. You can't turn it off. I mean, I got two text chains by college guys and NFL guys. They are literally blowing up, through the midnight hour, bro. Like, we are going crazy watching this game in disbelief. And, man, what a way to finish the season, man, to kick these playoffs off.
Jeff, I tweeted last night, I'm like, for all of us staying up and watching, we should get the day off work. I mean, we just...
For real.
I had my heart racing to levels I didn't know existed. I was like, geez, this is not good for me, calming down and going to sleep and waking up at 5 a.m.
Well, you know what's crazy? This is what's crazy is we literally had no skin in the game, right? Like it was all over for us. And I'm the same way. It was like I was playing. I'm sweating. My wife was like, "What is wrong with you?" I'm like, "Baby, can you believe? Like, look at this. And she is laughing at me. I'm like, "This is insanity." Like I could not be more involved, and for no reason other than I'm just watching a great football game end in the most absurd way ever, and potentially a season, and then the kick goes through, and I'm like, I can't believe that. I mean, I go to bed just, my head's spinning. I'm like, I cannot believe this just happened. So you feel pain for the Chargers. You feel, elation for the Raiders. It's just crazy, man. You got to love it.
I literally sat there in bed. I'm like, should I wake up my wife and explain to her what's happening? And then I'm like, no, I'm trying to stay married for a little bit longer than this.
I love it.
Jeff, I know it's not what any of us thought we'd be talking about today, but always appreciate just your genuine time on these Monday mornings with us. So happy that we can do it here for another few weeks. Unfortunately, not talking about the subject that we want to, but thank you for your insight throughout the year. And again, appreciate you hopping on throughout the Super Bowl.
Absolutely, fellas. Look forward to talking to you next week, man. Y'all have a good one.
That's Jeff Saturday again. More Restoration. Now first on site, new name, same great people.
Time now for a quick Big O Tires Sports Center update.
The Sports Center update on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan is presented by Big O Tires, the team you trust.
Hey, folks, did you hear yesterday the Jags won? Jacksonville 26-11 over the Colts. The predominant theme this morning, so we don't need to necessarily get into the nuance of that. As you just heard us talking about, the NFL season came to a close in the regular season in tantalizing fashion. The Raiders, a 35-32 win over the LA Chargers. That kept Pittsburgh in the postseason. The Steelers would have found themselves on the outside looking in had that game ended in a tie. It came down to the final play of overtime when the Raiders won it. That put Pittsburgh back in. The Steelers yesterday winning 16-13 over the Ravens. So the playoffs are set. Here are the matchups. It's going to be the Raiders in Cincinnati. Also, New England taking on Buffalo. Pittsburgh in Kansas City. Philadelphia in Tampa Bay. Not the water itself, just the city of Tampa. San Francisco will be taking on Dallas, and Arizona against the LA Rams. Minnesota and Indiana yesterday, college basketball. Indiana 73-60 winners over the Golden Gophers. Mike Woodson's club now 12-3. Kevin, you mentioned it earlier, finally got some decent guard play to go with Trace Jackson-Davis.
Yeah, Tennessee hit 4 threes off the bench. Minnesota clearly letting those guys shoot it, and you understand that, but I thought at times I'm like, wait, you're really leaving them that open? But, protect home court, and now, can you do it on the road? Nice little week here for the Hoosiers. Purdue, no game tomorrow night at Michigan, canceled due to COVID. They did survive in Happy Valley, beating Penn State. Nice run to end that game. Trayvon Williams, Jake, when I watch him at times this season, I think that is a little bit of David West adult-like moments. Like,
good way of saying it, yep.
Come on, everybody hop on my shoulders and we'll be good here.
And guys respond to it.
Yeah, and he did that, I thought. So an important win for Purdue just with this stretch here, I think a 4 of 5 on the road.
Saturday night, Lance Stevenson had a career-high 14 assists. Domas Sabonis had a career-high 42. Pacers win. Now they are in Boston coming up tonight, then Wednesday back at the Fieldhouse to take on the same Celtics. They take on Phoenix on Friday. 239-1070 is the telephone number. Craig, Paul, we got a couple of Craigs lined up. That's how packed it is. We'll get further into the Colts, including as we move forward here, hearing from Frank Reich on Carson Wentz, but I want to know your folks' thoughts as well. The conversation continues here. Kevin and Query on a Monday. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Join 93.1 WIBC right down the dial as the Indiana Hoosiers take on the Iowa Hawkeyes this Thursday night. Pregame starts at 8 p.m. with a 9 p.m. tip-off.
With an easy refinance, our clients, on average, save over $350 a month. TheHomeLoanExpert.com.
NMLS number 1326241.
Spectrum Mobile is reinventing wireless again. Get unlimited on 2+ lines for $29.99 a month per line. No contracts, no added taxes or fees. Includes nationwide 5G. Save up to 60% with Spectrum Mobile. Get unlimited on 2+ lines for $29.99 a month. Call 855-438-2999 or visit a store near you. Offer valid for new customers on 2+ unlimited lines. Spectrum Internet required. Savings based on 2-line comparison of unlimited plans among major national carriers as of 9/20/21. Prepaid excluded. Restrictions apply.
I think we're all in some physical pain after witnessing that one yesterday for 60 minutes down in Jacksonville. Well, if you are dealing with physical pain, you need to check out our friends at QC Kinetics. The more I listen to them, the more I'm intrigued about what they can do, not only for myself, but for so many of our listeners. At QC Kinetics, you've got new therapies, advanced, all-natural regenerative treatments that can not only just give you relief, but also can restore and repair damaged tissue so you can have lasting relief. If you've got joint pain due to arthritis, knee pain, hip pain, shoulder pain, don't just think the old ways of dealing with pain are the only ways. You need to learn more about these new biologic therapy solutions. Call now for a free consultation. QC Kinetics, 463-235-7160. These remarkable new treatments increase mobility, decrease pain, and help restore tissue. They actually encourage your body to heal itself. So call now and learn more about QC Kinetics, 463-235-7160. Again, that's 463-235-7160.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who believe only quitters end a game in a tie, the type of guys who choose the bar with the biggest TVs to overcompensate for theirs at home. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Get to Twin Peaks for the big game on January 10th as Georgia takes on Alabama. Who you got taking home the title? Bring the crew, order up some game day shareables, and wash it down with a 29-degree beer at Twin Peaks. Game time 8 p.m. Twin Peaks. Eats, drinks, scenic views.
Hey, it's Big Joe for your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, B&W Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Drains. Co-owner Beth Rovazini says now is the best time to plan for winter.
Supply chains are unpredictable, and with labor shortages, everything is just a little bit uncertain. We have furnaces and air conditioners in stock now. We have the people to install them now. With our special financing, there's no reason to wait.
Financing with approved credit. Ask for details at BigBlackTrucks.com. B&W is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
At Kroger, fresh groceries are our thing, so we check your delivery order for freshness at every step from farm to store and pick and pack every veggie in your free pickup order with care, because we treat your food the way we'd want ours to be treated. We're fresh every day, so shop anyway. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Free pickup on orders of $35 or more. Restrictions may apply.
Save more on natural and organic items. Just clip your digital coupons on our app and use them up to 5 times in one transaction with your card. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
The Ride with JMV.
Colts owner Jim Irsay joins us now. Jim, what do you think about this team, the way it looks now after that 0-3 start?
It's just really been a magical year, but we think the honey that the hive's holding is going into January, and, it's really a question of who wants the most. We love your show, and I appreciate you having me, and go Colts.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 to 6
on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
The storyline heading into the game yesterday in Jacksonville was the fact that Jags fans were going to dress as clowns in protest of the futility of their franchise, and it turns out the Colts showed up in a total clown show. And Kevin Bowen, what we've talked about, if you look at the Colts season and the things that you and I have been talking about that were worrisome about the Colts over the course of the year, pass rush. Yesterday, they made Trevor Lawrence look like Joe Montana. Trevor Lawrence, I think, is a world of talent, but this is a guy that hadn't thrown a touchdown pass in 9 games until last week, and yet they let him get in rhythm, 12 of 13. They let Derek Carr get in rhythm a week ago. It reared its ugly head. Carson Wentz, I was flat out wrong. I said about Carson Wentz, I thought he was a guy you could ride with. Everybody else was right. Carson Wentz yesterday looked like a guy that Philadelphia decided they wanted to get rid of for a steak and cheese sandwich and a first-round pick. Please take him off our books. Have him Indianapolis. We're going to go to the playoffs with Jalen Hurts, and instead you're going to be hurting with Carson Wentz because flat out he wasn't reliable. Came down to it, the guy absolutely wet down his leg. Couldn't make decisions when it really mattered, and things started moving quickly. Jonathan Taylor, dynamic talent, but the Colts at times got away from him. Yesterday, just 15 carries because they didn't have the passing game to open anything up, and they allowed Jacksonville's absolutely porous defense regularly to load up and shut him down. Absolutely putrid and excusable performance, and flat out one that as an organization is the capper on why they're not going to the playoffs, because when you go down there and you stink it up like that in a place against a historically bad NFL team that has the first-round #1 overall pick in back-to-back years, you don't deserve to go anywhere.
It's the most embarrassing loss in franchise history. In my mind, I know there was some postseason 41-0 to the Jets, this and that. I think when you consider how god-awful Jacksonville is and how they just kick your ass up and down the field, every single facet, to me, Jake, it does fall into that category. And I think it's a very legit question of, is that a fireable offense? And where does that fall on the pecking order, on the hierarchy inside of that organization? To me, Jim Irsay handing out those contract extensions, and you now sit at the end of the season, Jake, and in the playoff box, you failed. In the finding an answer on your quarterback, you failed. In maintaining a first-round pick, you failed. That is absolutely crushing to the state of your organization at such a critical juncture. You and I have talked about it. There are many pieces on this roster that have you in some prime potential years, and now you sit here without that precious first-round pick, and you aren't getting playoff experience for a roster that desperately needs it, particularly at the quarterback position. I think you go to Chris Ballard. Are you built the right way? I think it's a very, very fair question to be asked. Chris has had a lot of success in drafting at various spots in this roster, but building your roster through guards, linebackers, and running backs, has it gotten you to an average state where you're currently at? Obviously, Frank Reich and his coaching staff. To me, and I'm glad that Jeff Saturday just said it, Jake, the pass rush might be the most damning thing in the last 5 years. You've invested like none other at that position. None other. So what is it? Are you drafting the wrong guys, or is Matt Eberflus and his staff not developing those guys? Because like you said earlier, you were extremely quiet in pressuring Trevor Lawrence yesterday.
If I am Chris Ballard also, okay, there are two ways to look at this. If I'm Jim Irsay, I'm probably looking at it first and foremost, and I'm saying I'm disappointed. I want to talk to Chris Ballard about why I'm disappointed. Chris Ballard, if I'm him, I'm saying I'm disappointed, and I want to talk to Frank Reich about why he convinced me that he was the quarterback whisperer that could reawaken the greatness in Carson Wentz that we saw early in his time in Philadelphia before it completely went south. And is Chris Ballard starting to question whether or not that was the right path to go? Frank Reich was non-committal yesterday on Carson Wentz at first. Then he hedged a little bit and said, well, you know what? Actually, you know, he did show us some things over the course of the year. Look, everybody else, and I was late to this party, everybody else said Carson Wentz is a guy you flat out can't trust. You can't trust. And what do we know about, like, if you get into relationships with people that everybody says has a track record of being non-trustworthy, more often than not, you get burnt by it. And the Colts yesterday got burnt by a quarterback flat out that was unreliable.
You've invested too much into him to have to cover his ass. He should be covering up other areas on your roster, and you've got to cover him. We talk about people that maybe need our prayers. Craig might be the person that needs it the most, Jake. Craig, you were in the building yesterday for that one?
Yeah, good morning, guys.
Ugh.
Yeah, unfortunately, this was my first
Craig.
game. Thank you. This was my first game since they moved from Baltimore that I've actually seen the Colts.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I go down to the Burt Jones era, so I've been around for a while.
Irsay should put you in the Ring of Honor next year just for having to witness that.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it was, well, first of all, seeing Colts blue, they dominated in that stadium. I mean, it was a huge turnout for Colts blue. But watching Carson Wentz live, I was like Jake. I was giving him the benefit of the doubt. We can work with him. But after seeing him live, his football IQ, he does not recognize at the line of scrimmage. His decision making, he just doesn't have it. as far as what you need to be a successful starting quarterback. I see him as a backup quarterback, but as far as starting, I have to agree with everybody else. He is not going to win you anything.
Hey, Craig, I want to, sorry to interrupt, I want to get to your point, but I also want to ask you this. So you were at the game yesterday, and I thought one of the funniest, saddest moments of the game occurred on the Jumbotron. Did you catch when they played a trivia contest with what looked like some nice fan, some Jags fan, and they asked her what her answer would be to the trivia question, and I believe her answer was C, fire Trent Baalke, a.k.a. the general manager of the Jags, and all the fans in clown masks absolutely love that.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Doesn't that just sum up yesterday when, what the agenda for so many Jacksonville fans going to that game was to, make fun of the organization, and yet in reality, what did they do? They knocked the Colts out of the playoffs.
Right. Oh, yeah. I mean, there wasn't a lot of Jacksonville fans there. It was mostly Colts.
Right.
It was crazy. It was just crazy. But, yeah, it was just pathetic watching them yesterday. After that, I agree with you, Kevin. After that first 3rd and 12, and they picked up, I'm like, oh, my God, this is going to be a long day. I'm like, can they get a defensive scheme? I think that's part of it. They need to get a new defensive coordinator because that scheme was horrible.
And the defensive coordinator, Craig, keep in mind, the defensive coordinator that was there was basically, it was thought that he was going to stay in Jacksonville or go back to Jacksonville, I should say. We didn't think it was going to be the last game of the year. He's going to interview for the head coaching position. You got to wonder if now all of a sudden the people in the clown suits are like, really?
He told Jacksonville, I don't want to interview until the season ends. Jacksonville might say to him now, dude, we don't want to interview. And the fireball fence, Jake, that question, to Craig's point, I'd be parting ways with Eberflus. I know that might sound, oh my gosh, he's getting interviewed for head coaching jobs, but I always go back to these kind of critical moments in franchises and organizations. And Jake, shocking on the national title Monday, it's taken me 90 minutes to bring up Notre Dame, but I thought a critical piece in Brian Kelly's run at Notre Dame about a handful of years ago, he fired their strength and conditioning coach, which, this, for a college football program, your strength and conditioning coach is massive.
Right.
Means so much to your summer workouts and all of that. That guy had been in Brian Kelly's wedding. Paul Longo was his name. Brian Kelly realized he had reached a point at Notre Dame those first handful of years where he needed to do something drastic, and he was willing to sacrifice an impact, a friendship, to make that call. I'm not acting like Reich and Eberflus, hell, it wasn't even a Reich hire, has that type of relationship, but sometimes you've got to make decisions that might not seem obvious or might not seem like the easiest ones to get a little bit higher, to steal Frank Reich's analogy, on the mountain. And that's where I'm at right now with Eberflus. Watching that defense, that 3rd and 11, 3rd and 12 to start the game, I'm sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, how in the world is that coverage so soft? You gave Jacksonville immediate life, and I thought that set up the entire tone of the game.
I think an area where you and I differ is I do think, if I'm Chris Ballard, human nature dictates that you, when heat is on you, that you look to where you can defer it. I think Chris Ballard should be questioned, quite frankly. Do I think he's a good general manager? I do. Do I think he's the great elite general manager that he's been made out to be and thought to be? At this point, I think you'd see deep playoff runs if that were the case. He's been here long enough. I know that the Andrew Luck thing, whatever. But, he's got a cool Southern accent, and he charms people, and he's got good hair, and he kisses up to the media, so people think he's this boy wonder. I think he's good. I don't think he's elite level. That to be said, as he is going to be questioned, Chris Ballard, about this roster and the areas of deficiency that do not appear to have been addressed, if I'm Chris Ballard, my deflection is going to be, or my defense is going to be, look, I had a head coach that I selected that backed out on me, and that was not easy, and I had to go to Plan B. Plan B, I think, was heavily influenced by the owner, and Frank Reich landed here, who is not a fiery guy that comes in and cute videos of him playing with his daughter, and he's a lot like Tony Dungy in the fact that he started one press conference by just simply reading scripture. That's all well and good, but you better offset that with the appearance that guys will run through a wall for you. I don't see that, number one. And because he was so loyal to Carson Wentz that imploded on you at the end of the year, if you are Chris Ballard, are you now questioning Frank Reich?
To your point, Jake, Frank Reich was what? Choice 7, 8, whatever he was on the list for Ballard. Matt Eberflus was choice number 1. He's the one that made the Eberflus hire to pair with Josh McDaniels.
Ballard did, correct.
Ballard, right. He
Correct.
wanted this defense. So that's where I'm at again, I know a lot of people are asking questions. What do you do? Where's the accountability? Who is going to speak for the lack of the pass rush? Jeff Saturday has brought this up with us on prior shows, Jake. What an NFL offense is trying to achieve, or any offense for that matter, is perfect timing. Perfect timing. That is the epitome of what every offense, whether it's run game, pass game, blocking, whatever, you're trying to achieve perfect timing. The Colts do not disrupt timing of opposing quarterbacks anywhere near to the point that you need to. We saw it with your guy yesterday. Trevor Lawrence, 58% completion guy?
Yeah.
And he completes his first
Let him get in
12
rhythm, right?
of the game. And his first incompletion was a great throw down the sideline where the guy, kind of pseudo dropped it. Like, someone has to answer for me in that. And that's where I think the Eberflus debate, I would let him go. We'll see if accountability means anything, though.
239-1070 is the telephone number. Let's go to Craig, who's been waiting patiently to talk about Chris Ballard. Hi, Craig. How are you?
Hey, guys. Good morning. A couple of things. I'm going to push back a little bit on Ballard. I mean, we have 7 Pro Bowlers this year, the most in the league. He picked Darius Leonard in the second round. He traded up for JT, so he's made some good personnel decisions, although I guess Malik Hooker and Kwity Paye so far have been bad ones. But one thing I've noticed, do you remember back in the Bill Polian days, nobody called Bill Polian Bill except for Peyton and Jim Irsay. It was Mr. Polian. Now, I'm not sure how much accountability is going on in that building. I'm not saying it should always come from the GM. Maybe it's time for a change in the head coach. But I just don't know. I'm not sure there's the fire's in the belly. You look at Carson Wentz in these press conferences. They comes out and I don't hear the hurt or the sense of urgency in his voice when we have those losses, and that's a problem.
The part about Polian, I get what you're saying. I always thought it was weird that he was Mr. Polian, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think that was because he was kind of a Napoleon, right? Like there was an ego running through there inside the building that was fairly toxic once the wins started going away. But that's a whole different talk show. Look.
I think it's a good point he brings up, Jay.
It is.
Where is the fire?
Right. We talked about this earlier. Tony Dungy was not a fire guy. But I think Peyton Manning was. And I think, guys, if you talk to players about, like when Peyton Manning would go to the Pro Bowl and they would talk about how guys would be sitting around the pool from all across the league, hijinksing and having fun, and then Peyton Manning walked out and everybody stopped to see what his mood was, whether or not they continued. And Peyton Manning was a prankster, whether or not the pranks continued, because he was the ultimate alpha and everybody wanted to see what mood he was setting. I think in reality, that actually is exactly what complimented Tony Dungy's demeanor. And like Jeff Saturday said, Dungy hadn't. I think guys didn't want to disappoint Tony Dungy, and that was where the accountability was. I don't know. I'm not around it as closely, but I don't. With Frank Reich, does he set a tone that guys absolutely don't want to disappoint him? I don't know. I'm not saying they don't, but I don't know that. Like they did. I don't know that you have the players, the clear player that is offsetting the demeanor of a Frank Reich like you had Peyton Manning did with Dungy.
Let's get to Paul. Paul want to talk about the defense as well. Paul, welcome to Kevin and Query.
How you guys doing?
Good. Thanks for calling.
Derek, I'm glad you finally came around to my way of thinking. From last week, you told me I was wrong when I said in 3rd and long, we go to a prevent defense.
Now, who's Derek?
Middle name.
Oh, shoot. I'm sorry.
All good, Paul.
Kevin.
I love Derek.
Kevin. Anyways, Kevin, I told you last week on 3rd and long, we go to a prevent defense, and I don't understand the thinking of that. On 1st and 2nd, the first 2 plays, we got after them on defense. Yeah. 3rd and long, it was 3 3rd and longs on that drive, and they let Marvin Jones go right down the field, uninterrupted, unimpeded, and let that pass get completed. From that first drive on, it was a wrap. We were not going to win that game, and the Colts did not bring any fire. They did not adjust. Another thing is Corey Willis cannot play the pass. He's the worst safety we've had in playing the pass that I've seen on that field. I don't know what's going on. Eberflus, like I told you last week, his scheme is basic. It's elementary, and we don't need him here as a coach. And Frank Reich needs to get away from. I'm not saying get rid of Carson Wentz, but I'm saying stop depending on him so much, because they shouldn't have went away from the run. The offensive game plan was bland. It was basic, and they did not do anything yesterday that gave any Colts fan any hope that we would win that game, because everything was so vanilla and basic, from the offense to the defense. The only thing that we did good yesterday was Isaiah Rodgers' kickoff returns. That was it.
Thank you, Paul. Sounds like an EDM concert, Jake, on the circle right now. What is that?
I think they're doing a sound check for. Isn't there a concert later today?
Yeah.
Who is it? Do we know?
Is it 20? Well, it was 21 Pilots last night. Sam Hunt. Is it Sam Hunt?
That
maybe?
might be right.
I don't know if that was.
They're doing a sound check down there, and suddenly the windows started rattling.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. Paul, yeah, apologies on the soft coverage. I do appreciate the dare comment. I do take it as a compliment. Yeah, Jake, I thought that set the tone. When the soft coverage on that first third down of the game, I'm like, oh boy.
Suddenly, all of a sudden, we're at Rock Lobster. What's going on here?
I know. Gosh, I'm just picturing that Rock Lobster dance floor has me sweating and thinking, oh boy. Tracy, David, Justin, Kevin, Joe, plenty of callers to get to. Todd Blackledge in 15 minutes as well. Kevin Aquari, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Pine Grove Medical Clinic. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of the pills? Well, we have a major medical advancement that has helped thousands of men. The Wave technology at Pine Grove Medical was tested by Cambridge University and the Cleveland Clinic, and the results are in. It's proven to increase blood flow by repairing blood vessels. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED by treating the root cause, call us now. And not only will the assessment and blood flow ultrasound be free, we'll also include something unique that produces immediate results in the bedroom. I think you're going to love that. This is a $600 value, free to those that call in the next 2 minutes. 317-552-1111. That's 317-552-1111. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your love life back. Call Pine Grove Medical Clinic now to qualify. 317-552-1111.
Gamebridge Fieldhouse is the home of Indiana Pacers basketball.
Here's another three. Towards it!
And in our home, we only have a few rules. Both on the court.
Holiday took it from Adebayo, goes the distance and lays it in with the left hand.
And in the stand. We bring the energy every single night. Together, we are gold-blooded.
The Pacers battle the Boston Celtics on Wednesday. Tickets at Pacers.com. Pacers Celtics, Wednesday at 7.
Did you know Amazon provides ways of working that fit your lifestyle? They know you value your time outside of work, juggling family, school, friends, or other activities. That's why they offer a variety of shifts that work for you. There are full-time, part-time, and even temporary opportunities that can work with your schedule, with great starting pay and sign-on bonuses. If you want a career that fits and adapts to your lifestyle, head to Amazon.com/apply. Amazon is a proud equal opportunity employer.
Hun, have you seen this internet bill? Why'd the price go up?
I don't know. Did you change anything?
No. Did you? You switched us to those fancy coffee beans. Maybe you're on a roll, making everything more expensive. Did you suddenly inherit money you didn't tell me about?
Whoa.
If your internet bill is giving you trust issues, you're not a bad partner. You just need a straightforward price.
Maybe we switch to decaf.
Get AT&T Fiber. Equipment fees are included, and with no price increase at 12 months, there are no surprises. Limited availability in select areas. Visit att.com/faster.
As a Shane Company jewelry consultant, I get to work with couples looking for their dream engagement ring. Many feel overwhelmed. They just don't know where to start. And that's what I love about my job. I get to make this important experience fun and easy. We don't work on commission, so there's no pressure. When you visit, first, I'll want to know, what are your ideas for your dream ring? What fits your lifestyle, your personality, your budget? Then we'll go from there. We'll look at ring settings and I'll show you options for the center stone. For example, if you choose a classic solitaire ring setting, I can show you how it'll look with different center stones, like a pear-shaped diamond or an oval pink sapphire. We have all shapes, colors, and sizes. If you're going for a big look with lots of sparkle, I can show you our Halo ring settings. Or, if you want a ring that's ready to go, we can look at our perfectly preset styles. Visit your friends. We're in this together.
Now you have a friend in the jewelry business. Shane Company and ShaneCo.com.
Hey, it's John for Love Heating and Air. John and Chris Love with the best service this time of year, making sure you're warm and toasty in your home, and that no-cost second opinion at 317-353-2141. And if you mention my name, you'll get $125 off the most advanced air purification system that's out there. That's iWave. Right now, use my name, Love Heating and Air Conditioning, 317-353-2141, online, love-hvac.com.
My crusade for the perfect pizza crust has led me here, pining over a backyard wood-fired oven. But how do I bake this build into my budget? Where can I get some solid guidance on my finances? Who can help me understand if I have the dough for this?
A little financial advice. At Regions, we know that's important, because your Life Green checking account comes with Greenprint, financial planning with a banker who will help you create a personal budget and live in the moment. Make your appointment at regions.com/Greenprint. Regions Bank, member FDIC.
Join me today. It's National Championship Monday. We're going to talk Colts. We're going to talk IU. We're going to talk the weekend. We're going to talk national championships. Salisbury Blackledge Fish. Join me today.
Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
10 minutes before the hour, Todd Blackledge is going to answer the question as to why in the heck Georgia's favored over Alabama. But before that, Kevin, tons of people lined up to talk about the Colts.
Tons. I didn't expect someone from Philly to be calling in, but Greg,
love it.
You have found us. Greg from Philly, I can only imagine what you want to chat about.
Man, let me just say, I feel for you guys. I couldn't believe what I watched yesterday. I couldn't believe it. I had the red zone on, and I could not believe that the Colts opened up the door for all these other teams who seemed like they had no chance to get into the playoffs unless the unthinkable happened, that the Colts would go lose in Jacksonville.
Could you believe it, though, watching Wentz?
I could, and then I'm just sitting there thinking, like, man, like, we lived through all this, and I'm like, I gotta find what the sports talk is out there and to see, because I've been through it. Like one thing you guys said that really stuck out with me was we said something about kind of like I'm paraphrasing, but kind of like his lack of emotion at press conferences. I mean, the most emotion I feel like I saw out of him in his time here in Philly was when the word was getting out that he was salty about Foles being the guy in the Super Bowl.
You're talking about Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm talking about Carson Wentz, yeah.
Listen,
yeah.
To me, the thing, Greg, about Carson Wentz, and I've been wrong. I mean, I was late to the party. I saw athleticism from him and ability to extend plays from him that I liked, physically speaking, but yet mentally it doesn't seem like it's there. He doesn't flat out seem to have the ability to make the right decision in the critical moment when the arrows are flying around him. He seemingly goes to the wrong decision more often than not, and I think that's exactly what people in Philadelphia saw in him, which is why they turned on him. And Philly's a tough market, but he didn't seem to have the emotional fortitude to handle it.
It's there. He doesn't flat out.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. Is that a fair statement, though, Greg, on the way it turned for him in Philly?
Yeah, hello?
I think Greg had his radio turned up, but interesting because...
That was actually a nice Philly call.
It was. I expected that Greg was going to call to absolutely light into it, right?
Exactly. Hey, we got the first-round pick. We're in the playoffs. Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni, blah, blah, blah.
I'm curious what Tracy has to say about Jim Irsay on line 1, 239-1070. Hi, Tracy. Good morning.
Morning, guys. How are you?
Doing fine, thanks.
Hey, just one thing on Irsay, and I really like the guy. I think he's a nice, personable kind of guy, and they've really done a lot for the community. But he's the one that stops with me. He's the owner of this team. He's letting this go on. I mean, I seen a tweet from him yesterday, something about we're angry or something like that, and then the next line was, it'll be great next year, like the 2 Super Bowls in a decade. Does he think people are just stupid? I mean, to just keep throwing things out like this at his fans?
Tracy, I think that is and thank you for the call, that is, if that's the expectation, if that's the barometer, why the extensions before the start of the season? And are you going to accept what you just saw? 9-8, the easiest division in the AFC, 7 Pro Bowlers. The NFL's expanded their playoffs and you still can't get in. Like, all of that, is that acceptable? I'm very curious to see, when I asked the question last segment, is this a fireable offense? Jim Irsay, I think it's been a bit weird, Jake, how much he's preached patience with this regime. All of a sudden, it seems like he's been easing up big time with the accountability. The resumes have not led to the extensions, nor obviously the result of this season. But do you think, knowing Jim Irsay, that loss yesterday will lead to high up changes?
I think Jim Irsay, there's one thing about Jim Irsay that is the best thing about him as a person, and one thing about Jim Irsay that might hold him back a little bit as an owner. And that is that Jim Irsay is so deeply driven by not being his father. His dad would have fired 7 people yesterday by halftime and then rehired him in the third quarter and fired him again in the fourth. I think Jim Irsay is, to his credit, less reactionary and more big picture. But I think that sometimes leads to a loyalty to a fault. I'll tell you one thing I don't want to hear is from anybody. I don't give one rat's ass about how many Pro Bowlers they have. Who cares? It's an exhibition game that, like, half the time nobody even watches it. Actually, it does do decent numbers, but who cares? It is the least significant all-star game in professional sports, and if you want to sit there and throw to me that the Colts had more Pro Bowlers this year than anybody else, that's the only you realize those 7 Pro Bowlers. Hallelujah, good for you. You at least found your way into a postseason game. Congrats, right?
Spot on. The other thing I don't want to hear, Jake, and that would be from Frank Reich today at a season-ending presser, or Chris Ballard, assuming he talks later in the week for his end-of-the-season press conference. I don't want to hear process. I don't want to hear that this is all about building this and that. Results, impact, process, blueprint, plan. You are a first-time GM and a first-time head coach. You don't have all the answers. The results need to impact how you go about your things. For Chris Ballard, maybe I should spend a little bit more in free agency when the roster 5 years in looks like what it looks like right now, or the results have been this. Frank Reich, wow, I'm so locked into offense, play calling. I'm also the head coach. Maybe I should take a step back and be more of a CEO. Try to see some things that I'm not seeing right now, whether that be players and how they go about their business, whether it be coaches on either side of the ball and how they coach their specific position groups, those sorts of things. The last thing I want to hear, Pro Bowlers, yes. Also, don't sit here and tell me that process and patience is exactly the path that needs to continue to go down, because right now, 5 years into it, it is not working at all. Todd Blackledge going to join us here when we come back, talk about tonight's national title game.
The Ride with JMV.
Colts owner Jim Irsay joins us now. Jim, what do you think about this team, the way it looks now after that 0-3 start?
It's just really been a magical year, but we think the honey that the hive's holding is going into January, and, it's really a question of who wants the most. We love your show, and I appreciate you having me, and go Colts.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 to 6.
On 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
14 Central Indiana locations helping you keep Winter Road ready. To find that location nearest you, log on, CarX.com today.
College Football National Championship is here. It's right down the street. We already got the music blaring by our studio. To celebrate, FanDuel Sportsbook is hooking new customers up with 30-1 enhanced odds on either team to win. Hey, it's Mark from Kevin and Query. That means you can bet $5 to win $150 on either team to win it all tonight. I'm rolling with the Georgia Bulldogs and their defense. I'm going to probably eat crow because I'm going against Alabama once again. But all you have to do is sign up with FanDuel Sportsbook. Use promo code MARK. Make a deposit to claim your 30-1 enhanced odds. There's no better place to bet the college football championship than on America's #1 sportsbook. The FanDuel Sportsbook app is safe, secure, and easy to use. They have everyday odds, boosts, and promotions. And when you win, you get paid in as little as 2 hours. If you're already a FanDuel Sportsbook user, FanDuel's hooking all customers up with $50 when you refer a friend, plus your friend gets $50 as well. So don't miss your chance to win $150 on a $5 bet on the college football championship. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app or head to sportsbook.fanduel.com and sign up using promo code MARK to get 30-1 odds on either team to win. Again, that's promo code MARK, M-A-R-C,
21 and over and present in Indiana. New users only. $10 first deposit required. Must wager in designated offer market. Max bonus $150. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
Wealth isn't simply about money. It's more than just the numbers in your portfolio or your bank account. Wealth is all the everyday things that money enables you to do, the goals you're after, things you want to accomplish, and the life you want to lead. So how do you get there? Tune in this weekend for Everyday Wealth with Soledad O'Brien and Gene Chatsky, presented by Edelman Financial Engines. Each week, award-winning journalist Soledad O'Brien and personal finance expert Gene Chatsky will explore how our financial decisions shape our everyday lives. They'll be joined by Edelman Financial Engine's wealth planners and other guests to demystify challenges like tax-efficient investing, retirement planning, and more. They'll share knowledge and tools to manage your finances today and build wealth for tomorrow. Join the conversation. Everyday Wealth airs each weekend and will be available on major podcast platforms. For airtimes, visit everydaywealth.com.
93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
WIBC HD2, W298BB, WIBC HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis.
The Pacers are in Boston for the first of two against the Celtics. Tonight at 7 on 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan. It's Kevin and Query.
We'll have some classes at times.
Hey, we're calling the plays, all right?
We gotta run the ball.
We'll pass, watch. We'll run the ball.
Can we run it down there?
Just play.
We run it down.
Yeah, Jeff.
Okay, so
we will. All right, when we call pass plays, block.
On 93.5
Boom, baby.
and 107.5, The Fan.
9 o'clock in Indianapolis. It's 9 o'clock, actually, technically, everywhere in the Eastern time zone. Our next guest here on Kevin and Query, joining us on the Payless Liquors guest line, was the 7th pick in the 1983 NFL Draft. The two teams for which he played in the National Football League will actually be squaring off in the wild card round, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Kansas City Chiefs, although that's not why he's talking to us this morning. Todd Blackledge will be on the radio call along with Sean McDonough for tonight's national championship game at Lucas Oil Stadium between Georgia and Alabama. Todd, welcome to Indianapolis and good morning to you, and what should be a pretty exciting game for you to call tonight.
Yeah, it's good to be with you. It's good to be in town. Haven't been to Indy for a few years, but looking forward to the game. And you're right. It should be a good football game. I think it will be a much more competitive game, a closer game than when these two teams squared off in the SEC championship a little over a month ago.
Todd, I want to go back to that SEC championship game. Like you said, Alabama pulling away big time there to make a statement in Atlanta. Early in that game, though, Georgia did have a lead. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was a 2-score lead. What changed in that game, and what storylines do you look from that one that you're paying attention to tonight?
Yeah, I mean, they did have a 10-0 lead in that ball game, which is not unusual because the last 4 times that Georgia has lost to Alabama since Kirby Smart's been at Georgia, they've had a lead, a double-digit lead at some point in the game. So when they played in the championship game a couple weeks ago, it was a 10-0 lead, and then Alabama just exploded in the second quarter. They scored 24 points in the second quarter. No team had scored more than 17 in a game all season against Georgia, and it just really caught Georgia by surprise, I think. Georgia had been able to dominate with their defense, had been able to pressure all quarterbacks, and Bryce Young did a great job of eluding pressure and not giving up a sack and keeping his eyes downfield and making throws. And Jamison Williams had a couple big catches for long touchdowns, and Georgia never really recovered from that. I think they were frustrated that they couldn't get to the quarterback, that they didn't rattle him. They had done that all year, and if they're going to win tonight, they're going to have to do a better job of that. They have to make him more uncomfortable than Bryce Young was. And when he played that game in December.
Todd, here's a really weird and elementary question, but a buddy might ask me this, and I'm like, I don't really have an answer for you. And that is, based on, and I get what you're saying. I mean, you would think that SEC title game and the disparity of it was probably the anomaly. But are you surprised, and can you explain how it would be? I realize you're not an odds maker, but based on that Georgia is still yet favored tonight after the way Alabama was able to handle them in the SEC title game?
Well, yeah, I don't quite understand that either. I will tell you from my perspective, as I measure the two teams and study them and watch them on film and have seen them in person, I think Georgia is a more talented team from top to bottom right now, especially with Alabama missing John Mechie. And so I did the semifinal game when Alabama beat Cincinnati, and they had just lost John Mechie in the first half of the SEC championship game. He was a 96 reception guy, one of the great leaders on their team. And when it was he and Jamison Williams, that was a real duo to deal with in your pass defense. Well, it didn't become an issue when they played Cincinnati because they just ran the football at will against the Bearcats and didn't have to throw it. Now, I think tonight, it becomes more of an issue. Who steps up in place of John Mechie? You don't replace a guy that caught 96 balls and is your go-to guy on third down and in the red zone. But I think it will become more of an issue tonight in the game. And I just think, again, I think Georgia has a little bit more talent on both sides of the ball from top to bottom. But the thing that makes me hesitate is I just don't know. Going back to the betting line or betting, I don't know that I would ever bet against Nick Saban. Just like I don't know that I would ever bet against Bill Belichick in a game like this, with so much on the line.
Yeah, tell me about it, Todd. I've made that decision far too often late this season. Todd Blackledge again on the call. Sean McDonough tonight. You'll hear that on our airwaves from Lucas Oil Stadium. Todd, I think outside of the game, a popular topic right now is playoff expansion being talked about in college football. Right. I believe presidents, are meeting today potentially. We could get some finality on that, or at least somewhat further down the road. Ideally, what would be the number for a college football playoff?
I don't know what the ideal number is. I guess if I had to choose between 8 and 12, I would opt for 12 myself. And I hope it gets done sooner than later. And the reason that I want expansion is, first of all, I think just more teams having an opportunity, a legitimate opportunity to participate, I think would be really good. Now, this year it was unique. In our Final Four, we had two teams that had never been there. We had Cincinnati, the first time of a non-Power 5 was there, and we had Michigan, who had never been there. And Georgia's only been there once. So we had a little bit of new blood feel this year. But I think just the more of that and having that, on a regular basis is going to be better. A lot of people say, well, Cincinnati, well, you see what happened to them. You can't have a non-Power 5 team playing in the playoffs. They didn't compete. Cincinnati deserved to be there. The same thing that happened to them, I've been doing semifinal games since the playoff era started, and I've seen, all kind of Power 5 teams get blown out in the semifinals. I've seen Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Michigan State, Clemson, all get blown out at different times. So Cincinnati is not unique in that respect. So I think it should expand for more teams. I think the other thing, if they can incorporate and should incorporate the New Year's Six game, because I think we have devalued those games, and I think that's wrong and bad for college football. And I think if you do both of those things, if you make those games important again and you expand so more teams have a shot, you're going to really reduce the number of the marquee players that opt out in the postseason, which I don't like either. So I think you accomplish a lot of things by making the right decisions and finding the right strategies to expand the playoffs.
Todd Blackledge is our guest, who will be analyst tonight for ESPN Radio for the College Football National Championship at Lucas Oil Stadium. Last thing from me, Todd, I want you to tell me if I'm being naive here, okay? I have watched Nick Saban's Alabama teams over the years, and when they win national championships and when I see the players interviewed, I think to myself, they handle themselves very well and seem like really mature, well-coached young men. And when I look at Georgia, I was around a lot of their fans over the course of the weekend here in town, and I thought they were really even-keeled and sportsman-like fans in the conversations I had with them. And I look at Georgia's roster as well, and I think that they are kids that are pretty good representatives of the University of Georgia. And so ideally, I think to myself, this game tonight are two programs that I think people can look at and say represent college football well in the way they go about things. Now, is that me looking with rose-colored glasses and being totally naive?
No, I think that's pretty accurate. I have great respect and admiration for both of these programs, and ironically, the blueprint that Kirby Smart used in pretty much every aspect to reshape and rebuild what he's doing at Georgia came right from Nick Saban, right from his time as the defensive coordinator with Nick at Alabama for the number of years he was there. It's a formula that works. It's a process that works. They recruit at a high level. If you look at recruiting, which is the lifeblood of college football, nobody has recruited better than Alabama or Georgia consistently over the last 5-6 years. And so their programs are very, very similar. And I think you're right. I think for the most part, you have kids that understand what they're there for. They're humble and yet they're hungry. And when it's their turn to shine, their turn to be stars, they step in their stars. Because the other thing that happens with both these teams is they lose guys to the NFL in huge numbers each year, and they just keep replenishing with the next wave of guys. So that starts with recruiting. There's development, and then there's when they go to the NFL, and I think both programs are very impressive.
Todd, before we let you go, one of my favorite segments you do is the Taste of the Town. Have you had a chance to experience anything here in Indy?
No, I mean, I didn't do the segment here. Of course, I'm not doing the TV game, so we wouldn't have it. But we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun bringing that back this year. It had been gone for about 7 years, and people were excited that it was back. And so hopefully we'll have a full season of it next year. And if I get back to Indy on a TV game, I'll make sure I'll find a spot.
Well, thank you for that. And I know it's a busy Monday for you planning for tonight. We'll be listening to you and Sean, and have a great call and enjoy Indy, Todd.
Great. Thank you, guys. Take care.
That's Todd Blackledge right there on the Payless Liquors hotline. Some NFL news while we were talking to Todd. We've seen Vic Fangio fired yesterday in Denver. And, Mark, you said that Minnesota's cleaned house?
Yes. GM Rick Spielman and head coach Mike Zimmer both out of jobs.
Jake, I bring up Matt Eberflus and the defensive direction of this program. I don't know if the systems would fit. I don't know if the futures of these guys would merit coming to Indy, but Vic Fangio, obviously some history here in Indy. Mike Zimmer, some history around this area as well. A couple of potential defensive coordinators if you do indeed want to explore that route.
It's interesting because Vic Fangio, when you really look at it, I thought personally, Denver, I know they finished 7-10, but it kind of went south at the end there. I thought Denver actually almost still, even at 7-10, Kevin, exceeded expectation coming into the year because we talked about it. Like it felt like they were selling early.
Right? Yeah, it was very weird.
And then they hung around. I mean, there was nothing overly sexy about them. But have you been to Denver?
Oh yeah, love it.
Let me tell you, the Broncos in Denver are topic A, B, C, D. And then, like, if the Nuggets win the NBA title, they get a segment, and then and the Avalanche, if they win the Stanley Cup, get a segment, and then back to the Broncos. I mean, it's like, literally, it's like, last night, the Avalanche won the Stanley Cup final. Here's a list of the Bronco players that were in attendance. I mean, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, you've got to be in Denver. Like, Denver's seat is warmer, I think, than other places just in general. Minnesota on the year, 8-9. I think Minnesota's problem is probably a lot what we've seen right now in Indianapolis, and that is a quarterback that can scintillate you a little bit, but at the same time is unreliable.
It's funny. You look at those two rosters, Jake, two defensive-minded coaches, but two really intriguing, offensive weapons. Like Denver's wideouts, Minnesota's wideouts. Obviously, Minnesota's Dalvin Cook. Denver's not going to can their GM, George Patton, I actually think came from Minnesota, but Black Monday starting there with Minnesota. Justin, he wanted to talk about Chris Ballard's biggest emphasis. That is the trenches, and it failed the Colts yesterday. Justin, thanks for calling.
Thanks, Kevin, and love your guys' show. Listen to the podcast all the time. Can't recommend it enough.
Appreciate that.
Honestly. But real trying to be concise, put a lot of stuff all over the place. I agree with you 100%. I think, someone has to answer for probably was the most embarrassing loss in franchise history. And I think it's going to be Flus. You look at how many double-digit leads we, squandered, especially like the Ravens game.
Now is Flus, like you're talking about defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And, I don't understand. Someone has to answer for it, and I just don't understand how. You said we spend so much up front on the defensive line and those things, and again, we just squandered so many leads this season that could have made a huge difference down the line, where even this game wouldn't have mattered. But that aside, too, I feel like last night the offensive line also looked horrible for how much you put into it and how much you're about to put into it with, some contracts and things coming up. So, I mean, I'll leave it to you guys. I enjoy listening to it, but I feel like sometimes, too, we forget the offensive side of it, not just on Wentz. I feel like there's a lot of pieces missing. Wide receiver, dynamic tight end, things like that. But O-line is what really stood out when you are supposed to have one of the best O-lines in the NFL. And they had how many sacks?
At times this year, Kevin, I thought appreciate the call. I thought the offensive line this year at times looked sufficient, but for the amount of money, to his point, that you're putting into it, and you got to be more reliable.
What are you doing at left tackle?
Do you go with that?
Pray that Eric Fisher, year 2 of an Achilles, can get satisfactory. I mean, you look at the losses, you can circle monumental breakdowns by Eric Fisher in so many. Tampa Bay, that game turned on the strip sack allowed by Fisher. Baltimore, that game you could point to, kind of turned, although turned a little bit more in the fourth quarter. Yesterday, Josh Allen had his way with Eric Fisher as well. I think Justin makes a ton of great points, and I think that is what is so disappointing about yesterday. Yes, the letdown extends. I mean, you were horrific, pathetic in every single facet of the game yesterday. But the stuff you are committed to, preach constantly, invest in constantly, O-line, D-line, absolutely broke down against a team that's been thinking about their offseason vacations ever since Urban Meyer had his grind session.
Every single thing, I've said this several times this morning, I realize, everything that at different periods of the season were a cause for concern at different points came back to haunt the Colts yesterday. Inability to protect Carson Wentz, especially on the left side of the line, or instability in protection. Inability to get to the quarterback and let a guy get in rhythm. Trevor Lawrence completes 12 of his first 13 passes. Inability to consistently utilize Jonathan Taylor late in the game, because yesterday only 15 carries. They couldn't get him in rhythm because there was no passing game to facilitate that, and they were playing from behind. Inability to trust your quarterback, and I've been wrong on this, but we now have seen, when you combine it with the body of work in Philadelphia, you are who your record says, and you are who your habits indicate, and Carson Wentz is a talented but unreliable when it matters most quarterback, and the Colts put their eggs in that basket, and the coach and the general manager have to answer for it.
You strike me as a very calm watcher of sports.
That is an accurate statement.
When were you worried yesterday? When was the first point where you were like, oh my gosh, Kevin is going to have to change all of Rosie's diapers in 2022?
Honestly, the first drive Jacksonville had where they just looked in rhythm.
So opening drive of the game.
Right off the bat, I was like, this looks like just one of those games.
Yeah. That, it ramped up for me then big time. That first third down, which I've brought up time and time again, I thought the sequence to end the first half. You got the ball there late. I mean, again, we can list several reasons, Jake, why Jacksonville is drafting number 1 overall that they showed yesterday. They had big drops. They didn't coach that game as if they had nothing to lose. They settled for so many field goals in that game. Fumble luck went towards the Colts on a couple of bounces as well. So I felt like that late first half, when you allowed them to get a field goal and then you opened up the second half there, and when Braden Smith had the miscommunication that led to the Wentz, hey, I'm going to flip another one and get away with it. And when he didn't get away with that one, that was when you're like, holy hell.
I mean, even the little Carson Wentz weird flip plays, even that came up again yesterday. You know what I mean? I mean,
he got away with it so often this season.
Like I said, we were joking about, and I apologize Listen, I apologize to the city of Jacksonville. I apologize to my buddy Tom Stallings, who's a Jags fan. I apologize to you if you've listened to Leonard Skinner, since they're from Jacksonville. I apologize to Bozo and anybody that's played the grand prize game, and I apologize to like the Clown Association or that guy that lives in that house off of 67 headed towards Bloomington that's decorated like a clown for whatever reason. I apologize to all of them because I laughed at all of it over the fact that people were going to dress as clowns to protest the ineptitude of the Jacksonville Jaguars in that game, because the Colts were the ones that showed up in big floppy shoes and red noses and rainbow wigs. That was a total clown show when it mattered most, and it was inexcusable, and people around here should be livid over it because you invest a passion and a love in your franchise, and when it came down to it, they showed none of it.
Yeah, exactly. I could not agree more with that. The Bears firing Matt Nagy, another name to throw into the black.
Now do Ryan Pace, you cowards.
As Mark Dykton, I believe, is joyous over that news, but he still would like a little bit more. Before we get to a Big O Tire Sports Center update, I know Joe has been hanging on with us for quite some time, so let's get to Joe. Morning, Joe.
Good morning. Good morning. First of all, I would like to start out with one thing, and that is what the Truman had on his desk. The buck stops here. And also, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. And I am one of the owners of the Indianapolis Capitals back in the day.
Now,
and
were you in the 1968-69 era, or back like in the revitalization, like 72 to 76 era?
68, 69, Ed DeBartolo, Al Saville, Don Davis. I was right there. And then I ended up buying the team for 2 years.
That's cool. Wow. I've got a Capitals T-shirt, proud to say.
You've seen some things, Joe.
I do. I have an Indianapolis Capitals T-shirt, yep.
Well, we had a great coach by the name of Bob Snyder with the Chicago Bears. And we also had a general manager, Dean Griffin. And but at our first year, we lost. Well, we got rid of the coach, Bob Snyder, and we got rid of the quarterback. We did keep Dean Griffin. The next year, we won, and we play our games at the Indianapolis Indians on 16th Street. But the problem here is, just take a look at it. On the sidelines, our coach don't even get excited.
So if Jim Irsay calls you, what change would you make? If you had to make a change based on this season, give me the two things real quick you'd do.
The GM and the coach.
Okay.
Boy.
That's aggressive, Joe, but I'm telling you, I don't know, and we're up against it, Joe, so I apologize, but I appreciate the call, and I will wear this week my Capitals T-shirt. Joe can see it on the YouTube channel.
Joe wants to can it all.
I'll try to find it and see if I can wear it tomorrow. Look, I don't think Joe's alone. I really don't.
Yeah, I do think there are some people. To be clear, and I can fully listen to Joe's point. To be clear, I would be stunned if Jim Irsay fired Chris Ballard or Frank Reich. Stunned.
Jim Irsay is not a reactionary guy like his father was. I think he lets things organically breathe out.
Now, that doesn't mean I don't think accountability should be there. I've made the seat warmer analogy. I think the seat warmer should be fully on at this point, and I would part ways with Matt Eberflus, but that is stuff we can get into here a little bit later in the week. We'll get some callers in a bit as well, pop quiz, but let's hit a Big O Tire Sports Center update.
The Sports Center update on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan is presented by Big O Tires, the team you trust.
We'll begin with the NFL. We talked towards the end of the week last week about how there are going to be some teams looking for coaches and tried to predict who they are. We now know Denver looking for a head coach, Vic Fangio out. As of this morning, the Vikings and the Bears both looking for new head coaches. Anybody else I missed from yesterday?
No, Broncos. I think there are some reports about David Culley in Houston, but nothing official on that front.
We do know also that, of course, the playoffs are set, and in unbelievable fashion, it came down literally to the last play of the regular season because the Raiders defeated the Chargers in overtime on a field goal to end the game. Obviously, it ended the game, but literally there was no time left on the clock. And so the Raiders are in. They now go and take on the Cincinnati Bengals. It's New England in Buffalo, Pittsburgh in Kansas City, Pittsburgh got in because that game last night did not end in a tie, and it literally took to the last play in overtime to determine that. Philly will be in Tampa to take on the Bucks, San Francisco to take on Dallas like it's 1995, and Arizona will be taking on the Rams. That's the slate of games
Jake,
in the playoffs.
Your favorite wild card matchup?
You know, nostalgically speaking, I think the Raiders and Bengals is intriguing because of the curse of Bo Jackson, for those that know what that is. But I think the game...
You got some Niners-Cowboys, too.
I'll tell you what, I think Arizona and the Rams is going to be a great game.
Yeah, so that's the Monday nighter. The Saturday games, Raiders, Bengals, Patriots, Bills. The Sunday, Eagles, Bucks at 1 o'clock, then 49ers, Cowboys, and Steelers, Chiefs to round things out on Sunday. And then this year, of course, we do have the Monday night with the Manning cast. That will be the Cardinals and the Rams.
NBA Pacers in Boston tonight to take on the Celtics. Lance Stevenson, unfortunately, could not play for the Colts yesterday because he is single-handedly saving Indianapolis sports. He had 14 assists, a career high on Saturday in a win against the Utah Jazz. Domas Sabonis was one who benefited from that greatly because he had a career high 42. Pacers back home at Gainbridge Fieldhouse to take on the Celtics again on Wednesday, and then Phoenix on Friday. Last night, we finally saw good guard play for Indiana on the college side of things, defeating Minnesota 73-60, Kevin.
Yeah, really balanced yesterday. Robert Finney, 4 threes off the bench. In general, they hit a few more perimeter shots, which obviously is the elephant in the room with this year's team, but took care of home court, finishing off Ohio State and then Minnesota this past week. Purdue also finishing that game well at Penn State. Travion Williams, some adult-like plays on the road in the Big Ten from him.
Adult-like plays.
Adult-like. David West-like plays from Travion Williams as Purdue was able to stave off pesky Penn State. Purdue will not play, though, on Tuesday. They're supposed to play tomorrow night at Michigan. That game has been canceled due to COVID. We saw Butler drop another one to Xavier, so their slide continues this season.
In terms of Indiana itself, Christian Lander, maybe this is the last time I say it, I don't know. Christian Lander did not play yesterday. Apparently an injury?
Yeah, precautionary sore leg for him there. So, yeah, I'm not too sure about that. At Iowa Thursday, at Nebraska Monday, coming up for the Hoosiers.
By the way, we've been taking a lot of phone calls this morning, and we got the pop quiz coming up, so let's go ahead and get one last one in here. I believe it's Janine. Did I say that name correctly, Mark? All right, Janine joins us on line one. Hi, Janine. Good morning to you.
Hi, gentlemen. How are you this morning?
Janine, I'm not going to lie to you. We're well, and we have 3 females that listen to this program, and the odds of one of them calling in this morning, it's like winning the lottery just to know that we have a diversity of listeners. So I appreciate you calling in.
Congratulations. You are more than welcome. It's a great show.
Well, thank you, Janine.
Thank you, Janine.
Janine, are you a native of Indianapolis?
Absolutely.
You are? And if you don't mind me asking, what high school did you attend?
Pike.
Oh, okay. The Red Devils, huh? All right. Did you go to school?
Well, I'm sorry.
Did you go to school with Laura Steele?
No.
You know, she's a Red Devil. So, too, Mark Monteith, Kevin, just so you know.
Absolutely, Mark Monteith.
Great guy. Janine, what's on your mind?
We have never had a football team. Thank you. So,
what's that?
Go ahead. We have never had a football team at Pike.
A lot of basketball teams, though. A lot of good basketball.
Oh, you bet.
I thought Pike made a run a couple years ago in the state football tournament. Did they not?
It was an outlier if they did.
Oh, okay. Janine, you want to
less than thrilled with Pike's football history.
You want to talk about Danny Pinter?
I do. I absolutely do. When it went down and he was going to go in, I remember people talking and saying, concerned that he's going into the game. Then he goes into play, and like the next games are when the line seems to hold, something seems to open, the Red Sea parts, and Taylor can make these great plays. And then when Pinter goes back out, we lose 2 games.
So you, Janine, are wondering whether or not Ryan Kelly has become expendable.
Correct. And if Pinter is more reliable than it was thought.
Good
Janine,
question.
I think she brings Jake. I think she brings up a great point for the offseason. The return, and Ryan Kelly has gone through some ultimate tragedy here in the past few weeks, Jake. But I think overall, his play on the football field. You could say this before everything has happened for him personally. The return on investment for him, and the return on investment you're about to give Quentin Nelson. I don't think that is the proper way to commit financial resources.
Right.
They have always been very high on Danny Pinter. So, Janine, it's one of these interesting things. They've always talked about Pinter as a center, not a guard. They love his athleticism. He obviously showed it,
his
like you said.
right?
Yeah, certainly his versatility. Very smart kid, South Bend native, went to Ball State, all of that. It would go against kind of Chris Ballard's thinking with committing to Kelly and seemingly committing to Nelson here coming up. But I think ultimately the best thing for this team moving forward might be to make a substantial change in the interior of their offensive line to better use their resources.
That would be interesting. And
I would need to look into the financial stake, though, Jake. I don't just trading Ryan Kelly or cutting, that would be. I think there would be some sort of cap hit that we'd have to look into. But I think she brings up a very fair point.
By the way, Scotty Johnson has not walked in, but he did give us a pop quiz, right?
He did. Give us. I think he heard what was going on the circle, and he decided to stay away. But it has quieted down.
It is 21 pilots, by the way, that's out there.
We've got one more head coach firing as well. This one a stunner for me. We'll get to that when we come back here. Kevin Aquari, 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
JMV here for Aurora Sleep. You can stop snoring now and start sleeping better, just like I did. Visit StopYourSnoreNow.com to schedule your free consultation today.
Join us on The Fan and listen to Jason Hammer on You Bet with Bet Rivers, 7 to 8 p.m. on Thursdays, where you can get all the betting advice you would ever need.
Want the same internet but more privacy? DuckDuckGo's got you covered. With one download, you can search and browse privately, avoiding trackers, all for free. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
Home values have skyrocketed.
And Golden Oak Lending can save you money with their low 1.875% rate.
I'm James Hawkins, president of Golden Oak. With our low rates and your increased equity, you can make home improvements or pay off debt.
Woo-hoo! Plus, skip your next 2 mortgage payments. Call 317-706-GOLD today.
Golden Oak Lending cured my blues.
NMLS 114937. 1.875% fixed. 2.952% APR. FHA 15-year mortgage with 20% equity and approved credit.
Hey, JMV here for Mark Dietl, Realty, 317-755-4232. Again, 317-755-4232. Online, markdietl.com. That's Mark, DIETEL.com today. I know a lot of you are really fired up about wanting to get into the housing market. In fact, I just had talked to Mark about how it was going. And let me tell you this, you are not going to get the level of service and the guarantees, whether you're upgrading or downsizing, as you're going to get with Mark Dietl at Mark Dietl Realty. In fact, he's going to give you this guarantee. He's going to guarantee multiple offers in 3 days for full market value, or he is going to sell it for free. That's what I love. And no matter what you're doing in the housing market, he's going to get the job done right for you. That's Mark Dietl Realty today. 317-755-4232. 317-755-4232. That's markdietl.com. Mark, DIETEL.com today.
Bet Rivers Sportsbook wants you to be in control of your football bets. That's why players love the same game parlays at Bet Rivers. Same game parlays let you mix and match player props and game bets, and gives a payout boost to the winning combinations you want to root for. Combine 2 bets or combine many. You pick your confidence level and then watch the game unfold. Bet on same-game parlays at BetRivers.com or download the Bet Rivers app. Must be 21 and located in Indiana. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. 1-800-994-8448.
With a free offer from Jiffy Lube and Pennzoil, here's owner Steve Sanner.
As we approach another Indiana winter, your neighborhood Jiffy Lube shops are offering free winter safety checks. No appointment and no purchases necessary. Just stop into any Jiffy Lube and we will check your tires, brakes, battery, wiper blades, fluid levels, and answer any questions you may have about dashboard lights or any strange noises your car may be making. It's all part of Jiffy Lube's focus on becoming your trusted source for preventive maintenance. Cars and trucks are made so well these days that all you need to do is take care of them and they will last a long time. 200,000 miles is the new 100,000 miles. So stop into Jiffy Lube today. No appointment and no purchase necessary. And let our trained technicians do a free winter safety check to give you the confidence to make it through another Indiana winter.
Jiffy Lube, Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985, proudly features Pennzoil. It's not just oil, it's Pennzoil.
No whining allowed. sack up.
Sean Salisbury.
In order to advance in the postseason, Wentz is going to have to play like Carr did. There's about 4 or 6 decisions a game that he's going to have to make. And so now you're going to go to the playoffs. It's a different story in single elimination. He's got to convert third downs. He has got to make some throws that are there. And the great ones do not miss the easy reads and the easy stuff. They just don't.
Dan Dockage, weekdays noon to 3 on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan. Have you studied? Can you handle the pressure? Sharpen your pencils. It's time for the Pop Quiz with Kevin and Query. Brought to you by Jiffy Lube, Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985.
We have had several really good callers this morning at 317-239-1070. Now is the time for you to call in if you would like to partake in the Pop Quiz, and that includes tickets to see the Harlem Globetrotters, who are going to be at Gainbridge Fieldhouse on the 16th. That is coming up on Sunday. So if you'd like to see the Globetrotters or partake in the Pop Quiz, 239-1070 is the telephone number. Before we get to the Pop Quiz, Kevin, the coaching carousel in the NFL is really starting to pick up pace here.
Boy, that is an understatement. The Miami Dolphins, Jake, have fired, I think, a full cleaning of house. Chris Greer, their GM, and Brian Flores, their head coach. So Brian Flores wins 10 games 2 years ago. They finished over 500 this year, right? Same record as Colts, 9-8, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, his career record is right at either 24-25 or 20. I mean, he's right at it.
So 10 and 9 win seasons after a 5-win first year, and Miami is now looking for a new head coach. The interesting intrigue here, Jake, Stephen Ross, their owner, a Michigan grad, has publicly advocated for Jim Harbaugh in several different areas before. Is this Stephen Ross saying, I have a chance to get Jim Harbaugh?
Harbaugh is one that apparently, and look, it's funny because Harbaugh, a year or two ago, Kevin, at Michigan, there was discussion of like, is Harbaugh even the guy? What's gone wrong? Why is Michigan losing games? And now here they are. I get it. I mean, they win the Big Ten. They beat Ohio State. They get into the college football playoff. They get kind of boat raced in it. But nonetheless, he's suddenly like this hot, intriguing name back in the NFL circles again. Maybe he's a better pro coach than college.
His NFL win-loss record is incredible.
It is.
When you compare it to other coaching candidates.
And it's not like he did that with a roster in San Francisco where you're like, yeah, buddy had blank. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Brian Flores, that's a name.
You're surprised by that, I can tell.
I am, and I'm a fan of Flores. I think I might take him here.
Over Frank Reich.
Get Reich in a less stressful position to just call him plays.
Is Frank Reich on the hot seat?
He's not, but I think he should be a lot hotter than Jim Irsay and or Chris Ballard will be willing.
I think that's fair
to admit. So right now, the openings, Jake. Jacksonville. Are the Raiders open?
Yes, I believe technically they are, even though it's...
I mean, they just made the playoffs in interim coach.
He's still got the interim tag.
Yeah,
to him, so
and
I
how
think
do you
it's still
fire a
open.
guy with that good-looking beard and goatee and all of that? Broncos, Bears, and Bears clean house, Mark?
Yes, GM Ryan Pace out as well.
If you couldn't hear Mark screaming from...
I think I killed the sound check on the circle. They could hear me screaming.
Right, Sam Hunt just said, we got to take a 10-minute break from our sound check. Vikings and Dolphins. We'll see about the Seahawks, Texans, Panthers. I don't know. Maybe the Panthers gave a vote of confidence.
Pete Carroll says that he is confident he'll be coaching in 22.
And Joe Judge was coaching like he wanted to get fired yesterday.
Oh, my gosh.
Did you see that 3rd and 9 quarterback sneak?
That is what I wanted the Chargers-Raiders game to be. Just a bunch of 3rd and 9 QB sneaks in that game. All right, so Harlem Globetrotter tickets for Sunday. The pop quiz is now. Jake, a number 1 through 8.
We had this morning 1, 2, 3, 4 already coaches. No, 3 coaches who have been let go this morning. So I'll go with 3.
Bob.
Hey,
Bob. Is this agitated, Bob, or no?
I am agitated, but I don't think the same one.
We had agitated Bob calling last week. I think he was the one that was worried about the Jacksonville game, and I wanted to apologize to him. All right, Bob, congrats on the Harlem Globetrotter tickets, and let's see how he does today. Jake, you want to fire number 1 at him?
I will do question number 1. Bob, you sound like a nice fella, by the way. Are you a nice guy?
I
I have to ask my wife. I don't know.
Are you a father by chance?
I am. Yep.
How old are the kids?
25, 23, 21.
Okay.
All out of college now.
That's cool. All right, here we go, Bob. Question number one. Since you're still paying off college tuitions, you could use a free oil change, I can tell. Jonathan Taylor is your NFL rushing champion for 2021, finishing the season with 1,811 yards. He is the fourth player in franchise history to win a rushing title. By franchise history, I mean the Colts. Which of the following never led the NFL in rushing as a Colt? A, Edgerrin James, B, Lenny Moore, C, Alan Ameche, or D, Eric Dickerson?
Let's go with Lenny Moore.
Okay.
Bob, number two, T.Y. Hilton may have played his final game with the Colts yesterday, although I think Hilton actually has a little bit left in him. He is currently tied for third on the team's all-time receptions list with 631, trailing only Marvin and Reggie. Name the player T.Y. is tied with on the Colts receptions list. A, Dallas Clark, B, Lenny Moore, C, Bill Brooks, or D, Raymond Berry?
Raymond Berry.
Nice.
Okay.
Start, Bob.
Question number three, Bob. Cooper Kupp of the LA Rams finished the season with 1,947 receiving yards, the second most in NFL history. The only player to have more yards in a season. A, Calvin Johnson, B, Jerry Rice, C, Antonio Brown, or D, Julio Jones?
It seems like it's Jerry Rice, but...
You going with Rice?
Yeah.
Okay. Today marks the 40th anniversary of the catch. Dwight Clark's game-winning touchdown catch from Joe Montana with 58 seconds remaining in the NFC Championship game against the Cowboys. The catch would propel San Francisco to their first Super Bowl title 2 weeks later against the Cincinnati Bengals. Where was Super Bowl 16 played? A, Miami, B, Pontiac, Michigan, C, New Orleans, D, Pasadena.
I'm pretty sure it was indoors, so I'd go with Pontiac. Why not? The only one that played there.
Jake, Bob knows his stuff.
Bob does know his stuff. On this day, Bob, in 1985, back in 1985, which I'm guessing, Bob, is probably around the time that you were courting your wife, this coach became the first in NBA history, to win 1,000 regular season games in his career. This coach, who currently ranks second in all-time regular season coaching wins with 1,332, a mark that should be passed in the next few weeks by Greg Popovich, so he's like the all-time leader. I think he might be the all-time leader in coaching losses as well. Basically, what coach who most notably is remembered as the coach of the Atlanta Hawks and is a former player with the initials LW am I looking for?
Lenny Wilkens.
Okay.
All right, Bob, nice effort there. Jake, nice layup there. No, that was like Lance to Domas. Honestly.
That was.
I felt like that was.
I'm still dancing and strumming the guitar after that.
That one pass Lance threw Saturday night. I mean,
Sweet,
I thought he started dancing before he threw the pass.
He did. It was pretty fun.
Jonathan Taylor, your NFL rushing champion for 2021. By the way, you want to know how much rushing means in the NFL? Look at like the top 5-6 rushers and see where they are in the playoffs. You won't find any of them in the playoffs. Anyways, finished the season with 1,800 rushing yards, 1,811. He's the fourth player in franchise history to win a rushing title. Which of the following never led the NFL in rushing as a Colt? He said Lenny Moore.
By the way, Jonathan Taylor's bid for most valuable player completely went up in smoke yesterday, in case anybody's wondering.
You think Cooper Kupp wins Offensive Player of the Year?
It's pretty hard to argue that, right? Because we know that he is actually well, that's question number 3. We'll get to that. Raymond Berry was correct for question number 2.
That is correct.
But Cooper Kupp of the LA Rams finishing the season with 1,947 receiving yards, second most in NFL history, behind only...
Man, Jerry is a good guess, but no, Calvin Johnson.
Megatron.
You blew it!
But finished strong, did Bob. And no longer standing Silverdome is correct for question number 4 in Pontiac, Michigan. I actually technically broke in there, too, before it was imploded. And then...
Quite the criminal record here.
Question number 5, Lenny Wilkens was correct. Question number 5 was so long-winded that let me just read it one more time. On this day in 1985, this coach became the first in NBA history to win 1,000 regular season games in his career. He currently ranks second in all-time regular season coaching wins with 1,332, a mark that should be passed in the next few weeks by Greg Popovich. Name this Hall of Fame coach who was also a Naismith Hall of Fame player. Lenny Wilkens.
That was like as long as the Chargers' final drive last night. Have you seen anything longer than that?
Let me tell you. How many fourth down conversions did they have? 3?
And not just like 4th and 1s, Jake. Oh, 4th and 10. Herbert to Keenan Allen for 13. Oh, Mike Williams over the middle for
Mike Williams is a stud.
15.
Brother.
He is.
Mike Williams is a stud.
He's a free agent.
Is he?
Yeah.
I would pay a lot of money. Now, he did have a neck issue when he was at Clemson.
No, I always feel like he's hurt. Every time I watch a game, I'm always...
Well, he had like a neck fusion deal in college. He actually hit a goal. He had a touchdown catch as a junior.
I do remember that.
And he ran into the goalpost, led to like a neck procedure. But when Clemson, speaking of national title games, it's going to be played tonight. When Clemson defeated Alabama for their second school national championship, but the first of the Dabo Swinney 2 national titles, Deshaun Watson on the final drive led Clemson down the field, needing to score against Alabama. Hunter Renfrow had the game-winning touchdown, but it was Mike Williams that was huge on the.
High pick, top 10, right? Wasn't he top 10?
I think he was 7th, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we have seen a lot of moves already around the NFL here on Black Monday. Several intriguing names to me, and I think directly impact the Colts decision or decisions that need to be had with Jim Irsay and company here over at West 56. We'll talk about that here next and give our national title pick for tonight, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
BetMGM welcomes you with a special offer on the College Football National Championship right here in Indianapolis. Simply place a $10 moneyline wager on the game. If either team scores a touchdown, you'll win $200 in free bets, regardless of your bet's outcome. Just use the bonus code THEFAN200, all one word, capital T, capital F, when you make your first bet. Enjoy the national championship like never before and earn M-Life rewards that you can use for rooms and dining at any MGM resort nationwide. Download the app or go to BetMGM.com, and again, use that bonus code THEFAN200 to win $200 in free bets if a touchdown is scored in the national championship. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years of age or older to wager. Indiana only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire 7 days from issuance. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
Got some New Year's resolutions? More walks in nature? Less binge watching? That's good. But what about your wealth? Want to take it to the next level? Call Edelman Financial Engines at 833-PLAN-EFE for a free retirement review and financial plan. We'll take a fresh look at your finances to see where you are, where you want to go, and how you can get there. You've worked hard to prepare for your future. Make your money go further. You'll partner with an experienced planner who will incorporate your taxes, insurance, and estate planning needs to help build a portfolio based on her strategic approach to investing. So if you're wondering, what am I missing? What else can I do to help protect my wealth, my family, and my future? Call 833-PLAN-EFE by Tuesday at 10 p.m. to take advantage of this limited time offer. This is an $800 value. Yours free. So call 833-PLAN-EFE or visit EdelmanFinancialEngines.com. That's EdelmanFinancialEngines.com. Let's make your financial resolutions reality.
Hey, it's John for Love Heating and Air. John and Chris Love with the best service this time of year, making sure you're warm and toasty in your home, and that no-cost second opinion at 317-353-2141. And if you mention my name, you'll get $125 off the most advanced air purification system that's out there. That's iWave. Right now, use my name. Love Heating and Air Conditioning, 317-353-2141. Online, love-hvac.com.
Hey, it's Stan Dockage here with my wife, the lovely Lee Ross. Lee, we've had several jobs done at our house by the Michaelis Corporation. Some planned, some not so planned. They helped us with an emergency, if I remember correctly.
Michaelis did some great scheduled contracting work for us, but when we had a water emergency because a pipe leaked, they were all over it quickly. They got the mess dried out and repaired all the damage from the leak, just like new.
Yeah, water in a house where it's not supposed to be can cause a lot of problems. Now it's like it never happened.
Yep, when we were in a pinch, the whole crew from Michaelis did a great job around the house, and what made it even better was they helped guide us through the insurance process.
Besides their incredible professionalism in emergency services and insurance restoration, Michaelis has experts in waterproofing, foundation repair, mold remediation, indoor air quality, and general contracting. Spelled Michaelis, pronounced Michaelis. Call 844-FIX-INDY, that's 844-FIX-INDY, or michaeliscorp.com.
Did you know Amazon provides ways of working that fit your lifestyle? They know you value your time outside of work, juggling family, school, friends, or other activities. That's why they offer a variety of shifts that work for you. There are full-time, part-time, and even temporary opportunities that can work with your schedule, with great starting pay and sign-on bonuses. If you want a career that fits and adapts to your lifestyle, head to amazon.com/apply. Amazon is a proud equal opportunity employer.
Hey, it's JMV. If you're not saving for your child's education needs with a Forum Credit Union Sprout matching account, you're missing out. This account is the best way to supplement 529 savings accounts. It matches your savings as you can earn an extra $100 every year, plus a great dividend rate. Stop putting it off. Make 2022 the year to really step up the savings for your child's education. Learn more at forumcu.com or stop by any branch location today.
Soccer Saturday featuring Indy 11. If this is your football, this is your show. Saturday at 9 on The Fan. You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
By the way, apparently this Wordle game, I don't know exactly what Wordle is, but just in case you play Wordle, one of the answers this morning is Query. Because everyone and their brother has sent it to me this morning. So there you go, everybody. You're welcome.
Yeah, I've been seeing that's so far above my head. What is it?
I don't know. It's some word. It's like a word chain deal. There's a game show that's like that, the word chain game. You know what I mean? Like there's one word, and then you got the letters of it. You go to a next word, and you go down, and then there's 6 of them, and I don't know. You fill them in. One of them's Query, though. Which, by the way, Query is also the name of the tallest building in Shelbyville, Indiana. Thank you very much.
Jake, I started off the show apologizing to a guy by the name of Mike, and then I was reminded, no, that's actually Bob, who I need to apologize for. And shockingly, I had the over-under on maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes into the show before Bob would call in. I believe he has finally called in. And this was, I think, agitated Bob from last week, who was adamant that this Jacksonville game we should pay more attention to on the worry meter. And I think I might have laughed at Bob. So, Bob, from Kevin Bowen to you, I apologize for that. You were exactly right.
Well, guys, I'm sorry that I was right, but I'll tell you what, they ought to really be glad that I'm not the owner of that football team, because every one of those coaches would have had a pink slip as soon as they reached the tarmac of that airport. They need to clear house with the GM and every one of these coaches. This team has been a joke.
Now, Bob, let me ask you. Let me ask you. In terms of the cleaning house,
yes,
is that because of? And this is going to sound, Bob, like I'm picking on you.
How many games, guys, have we given away this year? Have we lost big leads? And it all goes down to coaching. Period. I mean, they weren't prepared against the Raiders. They weren't prepared against Jacksonville. And we go down to Jacksonville, where we struggle every year, and we get flat embarrassed.
I don't think that Bob's alone. I don't think you're alone in your thought there, Bob. I mean, look.
Jake, I go back to last week, too. Home touchdown favorite in your own building?
Under 500 on the year in your own building.
Right.
I mean, that's the bigger thing, right? What were they this year? 4-5 overall?
4-5.
At home?
Easiest division in the AFC. You benefited from that schedule compared to the West teams, compared to the AFC North teams as well. Does something so embarrassing, pathetic, catastrophic the more I think about it, Jake.
Apparently, by the way, Query is the only answer on this Wordle thing. It's not just one. I just blew it for everybody today. Sorry, I didn't know.
It was a miracle that we kept you in line for 2.5 hours.
It's
today.
like Fight Club. You don't talk about it. Sorry, I'm just saying. I guess I ruined it for everybody.
How just utterly catastrophic yesterday was. Again, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, something has to happen. I don't know if it's as high up as coach and GM. I don't think it is. At the minimum, to me, it's Matt Eberflus. Is this it for wins? Financially, you would say no. But I think that's something we probably should talk a little bit more about, Jake, because remember during the season there were some whispers about a disconnect there, and I thought there was a little bit more to it than a national, talking head just making.
I think they're
here.
stuck. Again, I was trying to talk myself, I guess, into the fact that was okay if they were, but at this point, Kevin,
other options aren't hanging on a tree. I don't act like it's
easy
to just pick those, but that position. Dave, you want Brian Flores? I want Brian Flores. Talk to me, Dave.
Well, here's the thing. If Brian Flores can be fired after running off 8-0, and I realize he's got a young team, that he's putting things together, and Tua was struggling, and they seem to found a niche. If he can get fired after running 8-0 at the end of the season, how in the world can Frank Reich not even be considered to be fired? There's two problems with the Colts. They have no vision. I knew they weren't going to win 10 games on May 16th because I bet it. And they didn't do anything to improve themselves by picking up a quarterback that was drafted in the first round as your franchise guy, and 5 years later, that team doesn't want you anymore. Quit being friends with people and start running a business.
The first part about it, Dave, it's a good point on Flores. I'm playing devil's advocate to an extent. But 8-0 is great to finish the year, but you're judged by the year in totality. And in totality in Miami, they were 9-8 and they missed the playoffs. 24-25 total over 3 years.
I just don't look at that roster, Jake, and think for 1 second it's better than the roster here in Indy.
I don't disagree with that.
And they won 10 last year, won 9 this year, the first year. I think a lot of it you just kind of chalk up to the first year of an operation. Again, if I could keep Frank Reich as offensive coordinator and hire Brian Flores, I would do it.
I feel bad that I gave away this Wordle quiz for today. But if the word was Bowen, wouldn't you be screaming it from the mountaintops?
Yeah, I almost Googled Wordle, and then I thought to myself, no, Jake is going to go out of his way to make sure I know everything about it tomorrow morning, so I'll just wait. All right, Jake, rundown on head coach openings before we give our national title picks. Jacksonville, the Raiders, for what it's worth, have an interim. Broncos, Bears, Vikings, and then as we just heard, the Dolphins. The Bears canned everybody. Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy as well. Eric Bieniemy gets a head coaching job. Maybe Matt Nagy goes back to Kansas City. How many more? Seahawks, Texans, Panthers?
Seahawks. Pete Carroll says he's going to be back next year, but that's a big question mark. Real big question mark.
Don't sleep on the Giants.
Joe Judge after the QB sneak action. Quickly, national title pick. Mark, we'll start with you.
I'm taking Georgia and say 31-28.
I think it'd be wonderful if that's true.
I want that.
If there are enough, if that many points are scored, I think it's going to be Alabama. I think Georgia's defense is unbelievable, especially their front four. But I don't know that Georgia has enough offensive firepower to keep up with Alabama. I'll say 27-23. Nick Saban gets his 8th.
30-27, Bama. Therapy,
and I'm rooting for Georgia.
Therapy is over from 7 to 10 a.m. We'll talk